Chapter 888. Two clouds of bloody mist interweaved in the air, crushed flesh and bones scattering everywhere, causing all of the nearby cultivators to tremble. They both blasted each other to pieces. Someone shivered, heart palpitating as he stared forward. Boom! Boom! In the heavens, two waves of divine might surged. Lin Tian's shattered body squirmed about, strands of blood-colored flames jumping about, reforming his physical body in the blink of an eye. On the other side, within Enlanging's shattered body, the primordial divine symbol flickered with strange light, condensing a physical body at almost the same time. The two of them stared at each other, not saying anything. Their gazes were both cold, colliding once again like two streaks of lightning. In that instant, the Emperor Fist's fist radiance and defying immortal divine light appeared at the same time, fiercely clashing. In the blink of an eye, another dozen or so breaths passed. Pooh! Pooh! Blood splattered everywhere. The two of them smashed each other at the same time, flesh and bones flying in the air. Enlanging activated the primordial divine symbol. Divine light pulsed, intertwined, and her physical body rapidly reformed. Lin Tian activated the Sun Nirvana technique. Blood-colored flames leaped between the pieces of flesh, and the mist of blood and bones instantly condensed together. In the next instant, the two of them condensed their physical bodies at the same time. Staring at Enlanging, Lin Tian's eyes were cold. The Heart Sutra of Sun was activated to the extreme, and golden divine light pierced through the clouds, making his entire body look like it was made of gold. The surrounding space was dyed in a layer of golden light. Then, he stepped forward and activated the primordial Chaos Emperor Fist to an even stronger level. The deity Phoenix and True Dragon became even more solid than before. Cracking noises arose continuously. As he stepped forward, the void cracked, unable to withstand the power of his fist. Roar! Roar! Next to him, the dragon and Phoenix roared together. Just the sound waves alone made many cultivators in the distance tremble. Some people coughed up blood on the spot. How can he be so terrifying? Retreat! Retreat again? The cultivators' hearts trembled. Enlanging's eyes were as sharp as swords. Chaotic light erupted from his body, and the 9 levels of the inverse celestial realm became stronger. There were tens of thousands of inverse celestial killing rays, and they pressed down like a waterfall of the Milky Way. Each ray was scarier than the one before, and it clashed with Lin Tian's primordial Chaos Emperor Fist again. Boom! The intense battle caused the surrounding space to collapse. Divine light flickered between Enlanging's eyebrows, and a heavenly sword rushed out. As if it had passed through space, it slashed at Lin Tian. Such a scene caused many cultivators to be shocked. This is a killing sword that is completely condensed from divine consciousness. It's very difficult for ordinary people to achieve this. This kind of divine consciousness killing sword can kill both the physical body and the soul. So terrifying, many cultivators' hearts trembled. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. A golden godly sword also rushed out from between his eyebrows and slashed at Enlanging's heavenly sword. His divine consciousness was extremely powerful, and it wasn't difficult for him to condense this kind of divine consciousness killing sword. In the blink of an eye, the two divine consciousness killing swords collided and exploded at the same time, intertwining with each other and creating specks of divine consciousness light. Swoosh! Suddenly, the sound of the air being torn apart resounded. Enlanging used a mysterious movement technique as if he'd teleported, and he appeared before Lin Tian in the blink of an eye. Moreover, at the same time, rumbling resounded as a large river appeared behind him. It was completely formed from primordial chaotic light, and there were actually broken stars intertwining within it. Its supreme divine might directly shook the entire heavens and the earth. Chaotic physique king's territory. Chaotic immortal river. Some experts of the older generation couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Rumbling resounded incessantly as the chaotic immortal river surged and flowed. It seemed as if it was flowing out from an unknown place, and it seemed as if it really existed. It caused the entire heavens and the earth to tremble, and in the blink of an eye, it enveloped Lin Tian. Shit, he's enveloped by the chaotic physique king's territory. This, even if he possesses extraordinary divine abilities, it's useless now. He's finished. The expressions of all the cultivators changed. The chaotic physique king's territory was extremely formidable, and once one was sealed within it, one would be doomed eternally. In the distance, Baiziki watched this scene without a shred of worry for Lin Tian in his eyes, and he couldn't help but open his mouth. On the side, Bai Chio's eyes widened. In the sky, Enlongjing's gaze was piercingly cold as the chaotic immortal river enveloped Lin Tian. Within it, numerous damaged stars started moving, and it was like a rain of stars that could obliterate the world as they pressed down towards Lin Tian in unison. The chaotic immortal river can destroy immortals. And, pooh! Scarlet red blood sprayed out as Lin Tian rose from within the chaotic immortal river and directly smashed apart half of Enlongjing's body. In an instant, the expressions of all the cultivators here changed once more, and their faces were covered in shock and disbelief. How could this be possible? He injured Enlongjing in the chaotic king's territory? He isn't suppressed by the king's territory? The king's territory was the innate divine ability of the king physique. After the king physique supported the king's territory, the king physique could at most surmount 8 levels of cultivation to do battle. It was invincible and practically invincible, and it was the strongest ability of the king physique. Once one was enveloped by the king's territory, an ordinary person could only die miserably. Yet now, Lin Tian wasn't obstructed in the king's territory at all, and he even injured the owner of the king's territory. This shocked everyone. At this moment, even the old monster, the 5-element crocodile, was greatly shocked. This abnormal kid is actually able to move freely in the king's territory? It stared at Lin Tian, and its eyeballs almost popped out. Enlongjing's expression turned grim because his supreme king's territory actually didn't have the slightest effect on Lin Tian. You bang! The heavens and the earth shook as Lin Tian's fist pressed down once more. A true dragon coiled around the tip of his fist and emitted a heaven-shaking dragon roar. Pooh! The last half of Enlongjing's body was blasted into powder, and dazzling chaotic divine blood covered the sky. Bang! Shocking divine might charged out from the mist of blood from Enlongjing's shattered body, and then the chaos divine talisman flickered as his body was instantly reformed. He stared at Lin Tian with shock in his eyes, and at the same time, his gaze became even colder and interweaved with boundless killing intent. Again, Lin Tian's expression was cold and indifferent as he spoke at this moment. He took a step forward and swung his chaotic emperor fist once more at Enlongjing. Moreover, in the next moment, his king's territory's reincarnation diagram was pushed up as well. As soon as it charged up, it emanated vast and mighty divine light. It was like a primordial diagram that split open the heavens and the earth, and it seemed as if it could suppress everything in the heavens and the earth. This is a divine ability. Why do I feel like it's even stronger than the chaotic physique's king's territory? Many cultivators were astounded. The reincarnation diagram emanated vast and powerful divine light, and it was swift to the extreme. In the blink of an eye, it appeared before Enlongjing, who'd reformed his body. Enlongjing's black hair fluttered violently while his gaze was terrifying. He'd activated the immortal-defying myriad divine technique to the limit, and numerous rays of killing light surged like a myriad of waves. At the same time, a dense expanse of chaotic immortal tablets charged up from behind him. Every single chaotic immortal tablet was 1.5 m tall, and they were like numerous tombstones that were interwoven with strange, ancient markings and possessed a terrifying aura. This was the phenomenon in his sea of consciousness. At this moment, he executed the immortal-defying myriad divine technique while activating the phenomenon in his sea of consciousness, and all of them collided with the reincarnation diagram. Bang! Instantly, the sky trembled while a destructive mist of light surged like waves, and it surged towards the surroundings. Bang! And Longjing was blasted flying while his body was covered in blood-colored cracks, and the chaotic immortal tablets that covered the sky shattered as well. On the other side, Lin Tiandao's figure shook violently, and he was blasted over 30 m away just like in Longjing. The reincarnation diagram in the King region exploded at the first possible moment, and he coughed up a few mouthfuls of blood essence in succession. He steadied his figure over 30 m away while the blood that flowed out of his mouth dyed his chest red, but his gaze was still icy cold. He stared at Longjing and didn't say a single word before charging forward directly. Bang! Without any unnecessary movements, he just swung his arm and pressed down with an indomitable, imposing aura. For a time, various phenomena of the heavens and the earth appeared around him, and their imposing auras shook the heavens and the earth. And Longjing steadied his body, and his gaze became even colder while killing intent surged violently. The murky light around him rumbled, and his injuries healed in an instant. He then used the defying immortal layers again and charged at Lin Tian. The two of them collided. Neither was much weaker than the other. Both of them shook violently and puked out a mouthful of blood. Despite this, the two of them didn't care. They once again stepped forward and charged at each other. The defying immortal layers and the undefeatable fists continued to clash. Every time they clashed, large amounts of blood would drip down. Both of their physical bodies were being damaged. Pieces of flesh and bone splattered everywhere. However, the two of them didn't care. As they attacked each other, they used different methods to heal themselves. They also unleashed more secret techniques and were extremely shocking. Die! Lin Tian was ruthless. The fifth level of the yin-yang ring flashed. As though it had passed through space, it appeared in front of Longjing in the blink of an eye. His fist that was intertwined with the phoenix dragon image pierced through Longjing's chest. Bang! And Longjing was sent flying. However, in the process of retreating, the 100 layers of defying immortal layers pierced through Lin Tian. Both of them were injured. The blood-colored flames on Lin Tian's body flickered as he circulated the Sun Nirvana technique. His chest that was pierced through recovered in the blink of an eye. His eyes were cold as he stepped on the yin-yang ring. With every step he took, an afterimage appeared. He brandished the Primal Chaos Emperor Fist with his right hand and the High Heaven Sword Sutra with his left. The reincarnation diagram buzzed and rushed towards Longjing. The chaotic light around Longjing's body surged again. The defying immortal layers became even stronger as it pressed down on Lin Tian. Moreover, he once again supported the king's territory's chaotic immortal river and fused it with the phenomenon in his sea of consciousness. In just an instant, the two collided fiercely. Boom! This was an extremely shocking confrontation. The light of the divine ability and the aura of destruction were wantonly at the same time, causing the void to collapse. Lin Tian directly coughed out blood. His body was covered in cracks, and even his bones and internal organs could be seen. He was almost crushed on the spot. At this moment, after Longjing fused the phenomenon in his sea of consciousness with the king's territory, he could no longer avoid being suppressed. Moreover, because it was the fusion of the phenomenon in his sea of consciousness with the king's territory, the power became far stronger than a single chaotic immortal river. It caused his reincarnation diagram to tremble violently. Just like his body, it was instantly covered in cracks. Naturally, Longjing wasn't any better. He was suppressed by Lin Tian's chaotic Emperor Fist, Ling Tian's Sword Sutra, and reincarnation diagram. Blood kept flowing out of his mouth, and the phenomenon in his sea of consciousness was on the verge of destruction. The defying immortal layers killing light also dissipated continuously. Boom! Boom! The two of them activated their divine energy at the same time and exerted all their strength to suppress each other. In an instant, the divine light and killing light interweaved and directly annihilated everything in the surroundings. Along with the sounds of explosions, bloody mists exploded one after another. Amidst the killing light that filled the sky, their bodies were damaged ceaselessly. Both of them became tattered, and even their internal organs were shattered. Die! And Longjing's gaze was terrifying. At this moment, a boundless chaotic mist suddenly appeared, and a few tens of damaged immortal mountains and thousands of damaged ancient palaces appeared. As soon as they appeared, they emitted an extremely oppressive aura. Chapter 889. Two clouds of blood mist intertwined in the air. Pieces of flesh and bones scattered everywhere, causing all the nearby cultivators to tremble. Both of you shattered each other. Someone trembled and stared ahead with palpitations. Boom! Boom! In the sky, two waves of divine power surged. Lin Tian's broken body wriggled, and wisps of blood-red flames leaped. In the blink of an eye, his body was reformed. On the other side, in Longjing's broken body, the Chaos Divine Talisman flickered with a strange light, and almost at the same time, a body was formed. The two stared at each other without any words. Their eyes were cold, and like two bolts of lightning, they collided again. For a moment, the Emperor Fist's light and the immortal defying divine light appeared at the same time and clashed fiercely. In the blink of an eye, dozens of breaths passed. Poof! Poof! Blood splattered. The two of them shattered each other at the same time, and blood, flesh, and bones flew all over the sky. And Longjing activated the Chaos Divine Talisman. Divine light flickered, and spiritual light intertwined. Her body was reformed at an extremely fast speed. Lin Tian activated the Sun's Nirvana technique. Blood-red flames leaped between the pieces of flesh, and the blood mist and broken bones instantly gathered together. In the next moment, the two of them condensed their bodies at the same time. Staring at Longjing, Lin Tian's eyes were cold. He activated the Sun Heart Sutra to the extreme. Golden divine light suddenly broke through the clouds, making his whole body seem like it was made of gold, and the surrounding space was dyed with a layer of golden light. Then, he stepped forward and activated the Chaos Emperor Fist to a stronger level. The immortal Phoenix True Dragon became more solid than before. Cracking sounds kept ringing out. As he stepped forward, the void kept cracking, unable to withstand the power of his fist. Roar! Roar! Beside him, the dragon and Phoenix roared. Just the sound waves alone made many cultivators in the distance tremble. Some coughed up blood on the spot. This, how can he be so terrifying? Retreat! Retreat again! The cultivators' hearts trembled, and Longjing's eyes were like swords, and the chaotic light around her body skyrocketed. The immortal defying killing light also became stronger. The immortal defying killing light was 10,000 layers. It pressed down like a waterfall, and each layer was more terrifying than the last. Once again, it collided with Lin Tian, who was waving the Emperor Fist. Boom! The intense confrontation caused the surrounding space to continuously collapse, and Longjing's glabella flashed with divine light as a heavenly sword shot out. It seemed to have pierced through space as it slashed toward Lin Tian. Such a scene caused many cultivators to be shocked. This is a killing sword that is completely condensed from one's divine sense is very difficult for the average person to do. Such a divine sense killing sword can slay both the physical body and the divine soul. It's scary. The hearts of many cultivators trembled. Lin Tian's eyes were cold, and a golden divine sword shot out from between his brows, slashing towards Longjing's heavenly sword. His spiritual sense was incomparably tyrannical. Condensing such a spiritual sense killing sword was not a difficult matter at all. In the blink of an eye, the two divine sense killing swords collided and exploded, interweaving into specks of divine sense light. Shwa! Suddenly, the sound of air breaking rang out, and Longjing used a mysterious movement technique as if she had teleported. In the blink of an eye, she appeared in front of Lin Tian. Moreover, at the same time, with a rumble, a large river appeared behind him. It was completely composed of primordial chaotic light, and there were actually broken stars interweaving in it. The supreme divine power directly shook the entire world. King's territory of the chaotic body, chaotic immortal river. Some of the older generation experts could not help but exclaim. The rumbling sound was incessant. The chaotic, immortal river rolled and flowed as if it was flowing out from an eternal, unknown place. As if it was real, it caused the entire world to shake. In the blink of an eye, Lin Tian was enveloped in it. Oh no! Being enveloped by the king's territory of the chaotic body. This, even if he has a powerful divine ability, it's useless now. It's over. The crowd of cultivators immediately changed their expressions. How powerful was the king's territory of the chaotic body? Once sealed in it, there would be no escape. In the distance, Bai Ziki watched this scene. There was not the slightest bit of worry for Lin Tian in his eyes. He could not help but open his mouth. Beside him, Bai Chio's eyes widened. In the sky, Enlongjing's eyes were cold. The chaotic immortal river enveloped Lin Tian, and the broken stars in it all moved. Like a world-destroying star rain, they pressed down on Lin Tian together. The chaotic immortal river can destroy immortals. Form. Bright red blood splashed out. Lin Tian rose into the sky from the chaotic immortal river and directly smashed half of Enlongjing's body. Instantly, the expressions of many cultivators changed again. Their faces were filled with shock and disbelief. How is this possible? He injured Enlongjing in the king's territory of the chaotic body. He is not suppressed by the king's territory? The king's territory was the innate mystical ability of the king's territory. After the king's territory was supported by the king's territory, one could fight across 8 small realms at most and be invincible. It was the strongest means of the king's territory. Once enveloped by the king's territory, ordinary people would only die tragically. However, Lin Tian could now move around the king's territory without any hindrance and even injure the owner of the king's territory. That shocked everyone. At this moment, even the old demon, Wuxing Crocodile, was shocked. This psychopath can actually move freely in the king's territory. It stared at Lin Tian, and its eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Enlongjing's expression changed drastically. His powerful king's territory had no effect on Lin Tian at all. You boom! Heaven and earth shook, and Lin Tian's fist pressed down again. A true dragon coiled around the tip of his fist and let out an earth-shattering dragon roar. With a pfft, the last half of Enlongjing's body was also blasted into powder, and the glaring, chaotic divine blood floated all over the sky. Boom! Enlongjing's shattered body surged with astonishing divine power in the blood mist. The chaos essence divine talisman flickered, and his physical body was instantly reconstructed. He stared at Lin Tian with shock in his eyes. At the same time, his gaze became even colder, intertwined with endless murderous intent. Again, Lin Tian said with an indifferent expression. At this moment, he took a step forward and punched Enlongjing with the chaotic emperor's fist again. Moreover, in the next moment, with a buzzing sound, he propped up the reincarnation diagram of the king's region. As soon as it surged up, it emitted a mighty and divine immortal light. It was like a primordial sacred diagram that opened the sky, and it seemed to be able to suppress everything in the world. This is a mystical ability. Why do I feel that it's even stronger than the king's territory with the chaotic body? Many cultivators were shocked. The reincarnation diagram emitted a mighty and powerful divine light and was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it appeared in front of Enlongjing, who had reconstructed his physical body. Enlongjing's black hair danced wildly, and his gaze was terrifying. He activated the immortal-defying 10,000 layers divine technique to the limit. Rays of murderous light surged like thousands of immortal waves. At the same time, a dense expanse of chaotic immortal tablets charged out from behind him. Every single one of them was around 5 tall, and they were like numerous tombstones. All of them were interweaved with strange ancient markings, and their auras were terrifying and horrifying. That was the phenomenon in his sea of consciousness. At this moment, He was using the immortal, defying 10,000 layers divine technique while activating the phenomenon in his sea of consciousness to face the reincarnation diagram. Boom! In an instant, the sky shook, and a destructive light mist surged in all directions like waves. With a bang, Enlonjing was sent flying. His body was covered in blood-colored cracks, and the chaos immortal tablets that filled the sky shattered together. On the opposite side, Lin Tiandao's body shook violently. Like Enlonjing, he was also sent flying more than 100 feet away. The reincarnation diagram of the king's territory exploded immediately, and he coughed out several mouthfuls of blood essence. He stabilized his body more than 100 feet away, and the blood that flowed out of his mouth stained his chest red. However, his eyes were still cold. Staring at Enlonjing, he didn't say a single word and simply rushed forward. Boom! Without any unnecessary movements, he simply waved his arm and pressed down with an indomitable aura. All of a sudden, the immortal phoenix, true dragon, vermilion bird, and black tortoise all appeared around him, and his aura shook the world. Enlonjing stabilized his body, and his eyes became even colder as killing intent surged. The chaotic light around his body surged, and his injuries were instantly healed. He then used the immortal defying 10,000 layers divine technique to face Lin Tian. Boom! The two collided, and neither was much weaker than the other. Both of them trembled violently and coughed out a mouthful of blood. However, even so, the two of them ignored each other and stepped forward again to attack each other. Boom! 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 The immortal defying killing light and the Emperor's fist continued to collide. Every time they collided, a large amount of blood would fall, causing their physical bodies to be continuously damaged. Shredded flesh and bone fragments splattered all over the sky. However, the two of them still didn't care. While attacking each other, they used different methods to heal their injured bodies and propped up more divine abilities and mystic techniques. Their power was extremely terrifying. Kill! Lin Tian was ruthless. The fifth level of Yin and Yang Ro flashed and appeared in front of Enlonjing in the blink of an eye as if it had passed through space. He directly pierced his fist, which was intertwined with the phoenix dragon divine shadow, into Enlonjing's chest. Bang! Enlonjing was sent flying, but in the process of retreating, the 100 layers of immortal defying divine light also pierced through Lin Tian. Both of them were injured. The sanguine flames on the surface of Lin Tian's body jumped, and the nirvana of the sun technique was activated. In the blink of an eye, his chest that had been pierced through recovered. His gaze was cold as he stepped on the Yin and Yang Ro, creating afterimages with each step. He waved the Chaos Emperor's fist with his right hand and the Ling Tian Sword Sutra with his left hand. The reincarnation diagram even buzzed and rushed behind him, pressing towards Enlonjing. The chaotic light around Enlonjing's body surged again, and the immortal defying 10,000 layers divine ability became even stronger as it pressed down on Lin Tian. Moreover, he once again propped up the chaotic immortal river of the king's territory and fused it with the phenomenon in his sea of consciousness, intertwining with an even more terrifying destructive power. In the blink of an eye, the two collided fiercely. Boom! It was an extremely shocking confrontation. The light of the divine ability and the destructive aura were rampant at the same time, causing the void to collapse. Lin Tian immediately coughed up blood, and his body was covered in cracks. Even his bones and internal organs could be seen, and he was almost crushed on the spot. At this moment, after Enlonjing fused the phenomenon in his sea of consciousness with the king's territory, he could no longer simply not be suppressed. Moreover, due to the fusion of the phenomenon in his sea of consciousness with the king's territory, the power became far stronger than the chaotic immortal river alone, causing his reincarnation diagram to tremble violently. Just like his body, it was also instantly covered in cracks. Enlonjing was naturally not any better. She was suppressed by Lin Tian's Chaos Emperor's Fist, the Ling Tian Sword Sutra, and the reincarnation diagram. Blood kept flowing out of her mouth, and the chaotic immortal river and the phenomenon in her sea of consciousness were on the verge of destruction. The immortal defying 10,000 layers divine ability was also constantly dissipating. Boom! Boom! The two of them activated their divine power at the same time and exerted all their strength to suppress each other. In an instant, divine light and murderous light intertwined and directly annihilated everything around them. Following a series of popping sounds, the bloody mist exploded one after another. Amidst the killing light that filled the sky, the bodies of the two were continuously damaged, becoming tattered. Even their internal organs had been shattered. Die! And Longjing's gaze was terrifying. At this moment, an expanse of boundless chaotic mist of light rumbled into appearance, and there were a few tens of damaged immortal mountains and a myriad of damaged ancient palaces laid horizontally within it. As soon as they appeared, they emanated an extremely oppressive aura. Chapter 890. The damaged immortal peak and damaged palace appeared together, and they interweaved with strands of boundless chaotic light mist. A strand of terrifying and oppressive fluctuation spread throughout the sky, causing this expanse of the heavens and the earth to seem as if it had instantly become much dimmer. It doesn't feel any weaker than the immortal defying myriad technique. It's terrifying. Many cultivators felt their hearts palpitate. Lin Tion's body shook violently, and he immediately coughed out another mouthful of blood. More cracks appeared on his body, and the reincarnation diagram and other techniques he held up also shook under the pressure, as if they were about to collapse at any moment. This caused him to be moved. When the damaged immortal mountain and the damaged palace appeared, he immediately felt the threat of death. However, he was not afraid. Even though his body was covered in blood, his eyes were still cold as he directly summoned the four-symbol seal. Buzz! In an instant, two silver Tao diagrams appeared, vast and mighty with wisps of silver light, as if they were about to suppress the world. Seal! He coldly spat out a word. With a wung sound, the two layers of four symbols Tao diagrams shook, quickly enlarging, covering himself and enlarging within. Instantly, the damaged immortal mountain and the damaged palace that Enlongjing held up trembled violently, and their power weakened by more than 10 times. Even the power of the chaos immortal river and the sea of consciousness merged together dimmed, and the immortal defying killing light was quickly collapsing. These two silver diagrams, it doesn't feel like an offensive divine ability. It doesn't have a strong killing power, but it feels like it can suppress everything. I feel the same way. Many cultivators were shocked again. And Longjing was also moved at this time. She only felt the power around her constantly dissipating, and even the flow of her divine power became somewhat unsmooth. She could not control the divine ability and King's domain that she used very well. After being hit by Lin Tion's reincarnation diagram and other techniques, her King's body trembled violently, and blood gushed out of her mouth. Half of her body was almost crushed. Clang! The ear-piercing sound of a sword reverberated. Lin Tian moved again at this time, using the four-symbol seal and the reincarnation diagram to suppress, and the High Heaven Sword Manual and the Chaos Emperor to attack. Like a flash flood, he immediately shattered the surrounding void. And Longjing shuddered. More cracks appeared on her body, and the cold light in her eyes grew thicker. He released a low roar. His head of black hair danced about chaotically as he unleashed all of his great techniques. Chaotic light covered the skies as he rushed murderously towards Lin Tian like a divine being. Kill! Kill! The two of them roared at the same time, their voices shaking the sky. For a time, all kinds of killing lights collided head-on, directly destroying everything within a radius of several hundred feet. Boom! The divine light of destruction was like a turbulent sea, causing many cultivators to tremble in fear. At this moment, many people couldn't even speak. Frightening terror, these were the only two words that many cultivators could think of to describe the two of them. Lin Tian's black hair fluttered in the wind. He strode forward like an emperor, his right hand brandishing the emperor's fist while his left hand brandished the sword scripture. The divine diagram suppressed all directions. and Longjing's eyes were chilly. She was like a divine being that appeared in this world. Her divine technique and Monarch's domain both became even more powerful, as if she wanted to destroy everything. The two of them clashed intensely, shattering the space inch by inch. After several dozen breaths of time, all of the divine abilities and magical techniques collapsed at the same time. The two of them shattered their physical bodies at the same time, each of them exploding in the sky. However, it was only an instant. The two of them reformed their physical bodies once again. Boundless killing lights filled the sky as they once again attacked each other. For a time, all kinds of divine abilities and secret techniques were displayed once again. The earth continuously collapsed as strands of electric arcs interweaved, spreading in all directions. Everything in their path was destroyed. Pooh! Pooh! Once again, the two of them were blasted apart by each other at the same time. Blood filled the sky. Lin Tian operated the sun's nirvana technique. Blood-colored flames leaped about. In the blink of an eye, he reformed his physical body and attacked Longjing once again. Within Longjing's minced flesh, the Chaos Origin Divine Talisman leaped about. She also reformed her physical body at the first instant and rushed forward with killing lights. Boom! 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 This part of the sky was continuously collapsing because of the battle between the two of them. In the surroundings, the group of cultivators was forced to continuously retreat. They had already retreated several thousand feet in a row. This is really only a battle of the Great Tao level. To be in the same generation as these two, it's really quite sad. A few powerful young cultivators shook their heads in desolation. On the battlefield, Lin Tian and Longjing were both covered in blood. Their complexions had become much paler. However, their eyes were incomparably cold. Divine light lingered around each of them. It was as if heavenly gods had descended to the mortal world. They fought until the sky trembled and the earth collapsed. Pooh! Lin Tian brandished the Emperor's fist and the reincarnation diagram, shattering everything. He shattered Longjing high up in the sky, blood splattering everywhere. However, at the same time, the dozens of immortal mountains and thousands of palaces supported by Longjing also enveloped him with a rumble, shattering him into pieces in the sky. Boom! Boom! The two waves of divine power were vast and mighty, and Longjing supported them with a mixed origin divine talisman, while Lin Tian activated the sun's nirvana technique. The shattered flesh quickly gathered towards the center and began to recombine. However, the speed of recombination was clearly much slower than at the beginning. This caused many cultivators to be moved. They all revealed strange expressions. Their divine power is about to be completely exhausted. It's already less than 20% of their peak state. They've all suffered extremely serious injuries. This battle will end very soon. An older generation cultivator said. In front, Lin Tian and Longjing reformed their bodies. Their complexions became even paler, and they were slightly panting. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth interweaved in all directions, surrounding the two. Their eyes were very cold. Lin Tian's clothes were stained with blood. His eyes were cold. His right hand shook, and the immortal phoenix true dragon reappeared. The might of the Chaos Emperor's fist rose again. Boom! Suddenly, the sky trembled violently. A wave of terrifying killing power appeared, pressing down from not far away, shocking everyone. Outside the battlefield, a slender man walked over. The void beside him was interwoven with dense formation patterns. They were all very tyrannical. His black hair draped over his shoulders, and his face carried a cold arrogance that ignored everything. He stared at Lin Tian as if he was staring at his prey. This is the young king of the central region, the formation control king, Longjing Luo. The killing formation outside his body seems to be a complete 7th-level killing formation. Moreover, there are so many of them. There's so many killing formations. Even an early-stage Wuzhen cultivator can't block it. What is he doing? Many cultivators were shocked. Longjing Luo stepped into the battlefield and pushed dozens of killing formations past. It was as if the Formation Emperor was reborn. His momentum was terrifying. He stared at Lin Tian as if he was looking down on his subjects. With a wave of his right hand, a ray of resplendent killing light directly attacked Lin Tian. Immediately, the crowd was shocked again. He's coming towards that person. At the same time, in the distance, Bai Ziqi's group and whooshing crocodile's expression changed. CK your grandfather. Little bastard, what are you doing? Whooshing crocodile roared. Boom! Lung Xing Luo's killing light was extremely tyrannical. In an instant, it closed in on Lin Tian. Lin Tian did not dare to be careless. At this time, he used all his strength to activate the 3 styles of Lin Tian. However, he was still forced back a few steps. What do you mean? He stared at Lung Xing Luo with cold eyes. He had many enemies, but he remembered all of them. This person was definitely not one of them. Lung Xing Luo stared at Lin Tian and stepped forward step by step. Give me the eternity, and I can consider letting you go. Hearing this, Lin Tian's eyes suddenly shot out 2 cold, killing lights. Desolate Shrine, he said coldly. Hearing him mention these 4 words, most of the cultivators here were puzzled. They did not know what the Desolate Shrine was. However, there were a few people who knew these 4 words, including in Lanjing. At this moment, their eyes suddenly narrowed. In the distance, whooshing crocodile's expression also changed. Desolate Shrine, this little bastard is from the Desolate Shrine. It stared at Lung Xing Luo in shock. What is the Desolate Shrine? Bai Ziqi asked. Yang Qi and Bai Ziqi also looked at it. Clearly, they did not know much about the Desolate Shrine. Whooshing Crocodile transmitted, it is a peak faction of the 9 heavens. It has existed for at least 100,000 years. Its foundation is frighteningly deep. It is one of the behemoths that can truly look down on the 100,000 heaven domains. It has at least a dozen half-step emperors and primordial heavenly treasure artifacts. It is very terrifying. It is even rumored that there is a true emperor overseeing it. What? Hearing this, Bai Ziqi and the other 2 were shocked. A peak faction of the 9 heavens that had existed for more than 100,000 years. It had dozens of half-step emperors and primordial heavenly treasure artifacts. It was even possible that there was a true emperor rank expert. Whooshing Crocodile's expression became serious. This is a giant faction that focuses on formation controlling techniques. Its strength is very terrifying, and it seems like it is plotting something. As it spoke, it looked at Lin Tian and bared its fangs. This little brat, he's only reached the 5th heavenly layer. How did he manage to offend the desolate divine temple in the 9th heavenly layer? In the sky, Lin Tian's clothes were stained with blood, but his eyes were colder than before. When he stared at Lung Xing Luo, the killing intent in his eyes was undisguised. When he was still in the 3rd heaven, the Desolate Shrine had sent people to the lower worlds to hunt him down. At that time, he had almost died. He did not expect that in the 5th heaven, someone from the same faction would make a move against him. Sooner or later, your faction will be uprooted. His voice was cold. Lung Xing Luo sneered, and killing runes intertwined around his body. His aura was very terrifying. You dare to say such words? Ridiculous. He stared at Lin Tian and said, I'm not afraid to tell you this. The reason why I came to the lower realms is precisely for you. I know that you will definitely enter this heaven region and obtain eternity from your body. I will directly become a divine child from a divine child candidate. Divine son candidate. The killing intent in Lin Tian's eyes became even stronger. He did not expect that Lung Xing Luo had such an identity in the Desolate Shrine. Lung Xing Luo looked down at Lin Tian like an emperor. Give me the eternal, and I will consider not killing you. If you don't, then I will personally take it. However, when that time comes, you will die very miserably. Do you think you can kill me? Lin Tian Lung sneered. Lung Xinghua coldly snorted. If you were in your peak condition, I might not be able to do anything to you. However, what do you think your current condition is? How much combat strength do you have left? He stared at Lin Tian, his eyes cold. 24 complete killing formations have already been completed, interweaving around me, forming a perfect killing formation. Right now, Even if an early Wuxian expert came, I would still kill him without hesitation. With your current condition, can you even compare to an early Wuxian expert? As the sound of his voice faded, a thunderous boom rang out as the killing runes around him trembled. Killing intent gushed forth, shattering the space around him. Chapter 891. Thunderous rumbles resounded in all directions. There were a total of 24 complete killing arrays around Lung Xingluo's body. Strands of killing runes interweaved like destructive heavenly tribulation lightning. The killing aura was extremely shocking, causing everyone's expression to change. He can really kill ordinary enlightened realm experts. It's terrifying. Many people were shocked. With so many killing arrays intertwined together, Lung Xingluo was in an invincible position. Lung Xingluo looked at Lin Tian. I'll give you one last chance. Give me the eternity, and I'll consider letting you go. Around him, strands of killing light shone, making him look like a god of death. You can kill me? Lin Tian's eyes were cold. Although he felt the terror of the dozens of killing arrays outside Lung Xingluo's body, his expression did not change at all. He was calm and composed. You're digging your own grave. Lung Xingluo's face darkened. He immediately moved, pushing the dozens of killing arrays towards Lin Tian. I gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. Now, even if you kneel and beg for mercy, it's useless. As his words fell, the dozens of killing arrays outside his body boiled together. Dense killing light rushed up, cutting the sky and shattering the earth. Crack! 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 The surrounding void was constantly shattered, and the earth was constantly collapsing. The terrifying power made some experts at the peak of the ninth heaven of the Great Path tremble in fear. They could not help but shudder. Oh no! If that ruthless person was at his peak, he might be able to barely handle it. But now his divine power seems to be less than 20%. His combat power has been greatly reduced. It's impossible to block it. Many cultivators' faces changed. In the distance, Baiziki's group and Wuxing Crocodile were also moved. At this moment, they all moved towards the battlefield. I'll crush your body and refine your soul. I'll take the eternity myself. Lung Xingluo's voice was cold and arrogant. The void rumbled. The dozens of killing arrays outside his body became even more terrifying. The dense killing light tore through everything. Seeing Lung Xingluo coming towards him, Lin Tian's expression did not change. His eyes were still cold. I'll kill you, he said coldly. As his words fell, 49 bone flags suddenly floated out of his body with a whoosh. Each bone flag was engraved with dense and complicated patterns. Boom! In the blink of an eye, monstrous chi appeared. Like rolling gray clouds, it covered the sky and enveloped everything. This aura. Is it also a killing array? Looking at this scene, everyone's expressions changed again. Baiziki's trio, as well as Wuxing Crocodile, who were heading towards the center of the battlefield, stopped in their tracks. Their eyes shone brightly. It's the 49 bone flags found in the underground tomb. Wuxing Crocodile bared his teeth. I forgot that this brat still has such a great killing weapon. It's enough to seal anyone under the third heaven of Wuxian to death. That Luo is doomed. Bai Qiu agreed. Boom! In the sky, the 49 bone flags fluttered out. Supported by Lin Tian's will, they surrounded Lung Xingluo in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, densely packed demonic chi patterns appeared. Even the faint roar of ferocious beasts could be heard. The entire space rumbled. Tiny black holes intertwined with each other. The destructive aura was vast and mighty. Such a terrifying killing intent caused the surrounding cultivators' expressions to change again. Even someone as strong as Lan Jing could not help but be moved. Lung Xingluo was trapped by the 49 bone flags, and his expression changed drastically. The 49 bone flags surrounded him, and the demonic runes filled the sky, causing him to feel the threat of death. The dozens of killing arrays around him began to tremble, and the densely packed array runes shook violently, as if they would be crushed in the next moment. Kill! A cold word came out from Lin Tion's mouth. In the blink of an eye, the 49 bone flags trembled. The demonic chi patterns on the flags seemed to come alive, rolling up the sky full of demonic clouds. In the blink of an eye, the aura of extermination was vast and mighty. As the 49 bone flags trembled, more and more tiny black holes appeared, swallowing everything in the surroundings. The scene was extremely terrifying. At this moment, the dense spiritual energy in this world condensed and turned into ancient ferocious beasts. They roared and rushed towards Lung Xingluo. Swish! With a crisp sound, a large number of formation patterns outside Lung Xingluo's body were annihilated. Damn it! Kill for me! Lung Xingluo was shocked and angry. He no longer had the calm and cold arrogance he had when he first appeared. With a rumble, the killing arrays around him all shone brightly. They intertwined with an even more tyrannical killing light, destroying everything in its path. This kind of might was very strong and could definitely kill ordinary experts in the initial stage of Wuzhen. However, at this time, compared to the vast and mighty might of the 49 bone flags, it was quite a bit lacking. It was simply unable to fight against the dense demon Mark brands. Boom! The 49 bone flags trembled and more demonic chi rushed out. The billowing demonic chi was like a flood that was about to annihilate everything. Lung Xingluo's face was extremely ugly. He roared, and the remaining killing arrays outside his body emitted even more dazzling light. At the same time, he supported a powerful secret technique to attack the 49 bone flags outside his body. However, the 49 bone flags were incomparably terrifying. It was as if they were suppressing the world. With a light shake, they obliterated all the secret techniques that Lung Xingluo had supported. Moreover, they also destroyed another killing array outside his body. Lin Tion's eyes were cold. He raised his hand and waved. The 49 bone flags shook again, and the dense demonic chi roared together. With a bang, Lung Xingluo was sent flying a few feet away. He coughed up blood, and 3 more killing arrays outside his body were destroyed. Open for me! Lung Xingluo roared and supported a divine weapon. He used the divine weapon to support the killing arrays outside his body, causing them to become stronger. Lin Tion's eyes were cold and emotionless. He used his mind to control the 49 bone flags, causing them to erupt with a stronger demonic aura. Swish! 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 Immediately, the killing arrays outside Lung Xingluo's body were shattered again. Even the divine weapon that he had summoned was destroyed. So scary. Even the divine weapon is destroyed. This ruthless person, he actually controls such a great killing array. This is really, all around, many cultivators were shocked. The sky rumbled and trembled. The 49 bone flags fluttered in the wind, absorbing spiritual chi from all directions. They evolved into ferocious beasts that roared and charged towards Lung Xingluo. Suddenly, a rumbling sound was heard. Another part of the killing arrays outside Lung Xingluo's body was shattered. His body trembled violently under the pressure of the peerless demonic aura and exploded in the next moment. Damn it! Lung Xingluo roared. His flesh wriggled and quickly reformed. His face became even uglier and paler with fear. He roared and carved out strange runes, causing the killing arrays outside his body to boil and attack the 49 bone flags outside his body. At this time, he was trapped in the middle of the 49 bone flags. The demonic aura caused his heart to turn cold. The threat of death was getting stronger and stronger. If he couldn't break out soon, he would definitely die under the 49 bone flags. Boom! Outside his body, the killing arrays lit up and the killing aura became stronger. The killing aura was like a divine light pillar that pierced through the clouds, causing the 49 bone flags to tremble incessantly. Lin Tion's eyes were cold. He stood quietly on the side and watched Lung Xingluo attack the 49 bone flags. Boom! With another rumble, the 49 bone flags became even more terrifying. They penetrated the killing arrays outside Lung Xing Luo's body and destroyed him once again. At the same time, the demonic beasts formed by the runes on the bone flags roared and pounced on Lung Xing Luo's soul. Lung Xingluo's flesh trembled violently as he quickly reformed his body. With a roar, he burned his life essence and used his blood essence to fuel the killing formation around him. He barely managed to destroy the beasts that were charging at him. "Break for me!" he roared. At this moment, as he burned his life source and used his blood essence to activate the remaining killing arrays outside his body, the killing arrays became even more terrifying. It was as if they wanted to destroy everything. However, the 49 bone flags came from the hands of a super demonic beast saint. Although most of them were broken and their killing aura was not as strong as before, they were still extremely terrifying. Under Lin Tian's will, they destroyed all of Lung Xing Luo's resistance and crushed him once again. So terrifying, the surrounding cultivators felt a chill in their hearts. Boom, boom, boom. The 49 bone flags trembled, and the demonic runes filled the sky. They began to emit even more dazzling killing aura. With a puff sound, Lung Xing Luo's newly reformed body was shattered again. At the same time, the remaining killing arrays outside his body collapsed and were shattered by the demonic aura emitted by the 49 bone flags. Lung Xing Luo quickly reformed his body. His eyes were filled with fear, and his body was trembling. He was one of the candidates of this generation's Son of God in the ninth heaven. Naturally, he knew some of the secrets of the temple. He knew that Lin Tian controlled the legendary eternal killing array, and that the temple was looking for it. Therefore, he came from the ninth heaven and waited for Lin Tian in the fifth heaven. He knew that Lin Tian would definitely come to the fifth heaven for experiential learning. He was very clear that as long as he could obtain the eternal killing array from Lin Tian, it would be a great contribution to the Desolation Shrine. It would allow him to directly rise from a deity child candidate to a deity child of the Desolation Shrine. In fact, he already knew that Lin Tian had come to this heaven a long time ago. Because he had heard many things about Lin Tian, he had been secretly looking for Lin Tian. Unfortunately, he didn't see Lin Tian until he stepped into this world. He knew that Lin Tian had become very powerful now, so he found Lin Tian in this world. When he saw the battle between Lin Tian and Enlan Jing, he didn't rush forward. Instead, he silently engraved killing arrays outside the battlefield, patiently waiting until Lin Tian and Enlan Jing were seriously injured. Only then did he make a move, pushing dozens of killing arrays to suppress Lin Tian. Originally, he had full confidence that he could kill Lin Tian in this situation and seize the complete eternal killing array from Lin Tian. Even if an early-stage Enlightenment realm powerhouse interfered with him, he wouldn't be afraid at all. However, he'd never imagined that Lin Tian actually possessed 49 bone banners like this. "Damn it!" he roared, his face full of unwillingness. Lin Tian stood outside the 49 bone flags and looked at Lung Xing Luo coldly. He flicked his finger, an array of golden light flew out and sank into the 49 bone flags. Boom! The 49 bone flag trembled violently as the demonic aura emanating from it grew even more violent. Dense demonic runes flew out from the bone flag, drawing in the surrounding spiritual energy to form even more primordial beasts, which then transformed into a torrent of destruction that charged toward Lung Xingluo. "You poo!" Lung Xingluo was crushed again, and blood filled the sky. He roared, and the pieces of flesh and bones gathered, quickly reforming his body. The aura outside his body was weak, and his eyes were full of fear. He couldn't help but tremble. "Well, let me go. I promise I won't trouble you again." Chapter 892. The 49 bone flags were even more terrifying. Lin Tian stood at the side, coldly looking at Lung Xingluo. "Are you begging me for mercy?" He looked down at Lung Xingluo indifferently. Lung Xingluo trembled when he heard that. He was a candidate for this generation's godson. His talent was extraordinary and his status was respected. But now Lin Tian asked him such a question. His face immediately turned ashen. But even so, he could only endure because he was the meat on the chopping board and Lin Tian was the butcher's knife. Yes, yes. He gritted his teeth. I can't hear you clearly. Lin Tian looked down at him. Lung Xing Luo trembled and clenched his fists. He clenched his teeth and shouted, I'm begging you. Please don't kill me. Please let me go. His fingernails dug into his palms and blood flowed out. His heart was filled with boundless killing intent for Lin Tian, but he didn't dare show it on his face. He just wanted to preserve his life. How shameful. Exactly. Many people pointed at Lung Xing Luo. At the beginning, Lung Xing Luo appeared to be in high spirits, looking down on Lin Tian. But now, he was trembling in front of Lin Tian, begging Lin Tian for mercy. The contrast was too obvious. TSK, this kid is really unlucky. He really lost face. Wuxing Crocodile looked at Lung Xing Luo and shook his head. He didn't hide the ridicule in his eyes. Serves him right, Baichio said. Boom! In the sky, demonic auras surged and rumbled. Demonic runes jumped around like generals. I heard you, Lin Tian said. With a rumbling sound, the 49 bone flags trembled violently as a terrifying demonic aura gushed out, as though it wanted to refine the entire area. Countless beasts roared as they fixed their eyes on Lung Xing Luo before rushing towards him. Lung Xing Luo trembled and shouted anxiously, I've already begged for mercy, and you still want to kill me. Did I say that I won't kill you if you beg for mercy? Lin Tian's voice was emotionless. You! Boom! The 49 bone flags shook at the same time. Dozens of ferocious beasts roared and submerged Lung Xing Luo in an instant. Pooh! Lung Xing Luo directly exploded. This time, even his divine soul couldn't escape. It was directly crushed by the 49 bone flags. For a moment, the entire place was silent. Immediately after, quite a few cultivators trembled. Another young king was killed by Lin Tian. This person is simply a young king killer. Someone shuddered. In the distance, the Wuxing Crocodile couldn't help but roll its eyes. This killing is satisfying, but will be targeted by a huge monster next. As it said this, it suddenly realized something and muttered, Oh, it seems like we've been targeted for a long time. In the sky, demonic might rolled like rolling gray clouds. Lin Tian turned around and looked at Enlongjing again. All of a sudden, many cultivators around were shocked. This person now has those 49 bone flags. Even if an expert at the peak of the second sky of Enlightenment Realm came, he could only be refined and killed. Enlongjing is also seriously injured right now. His battle strength is far from his peak. He can't possibly resist. Some powerhouses couldn't help but say. All of a sudden, outside the battlefield, all the cultivators were moved. Looking at Lin Tian, their expressions suddenly changed again and again. However, it was also at this moment that a crisp sound suddenly came out. Crack! Behind Lin Tian, a bone flag shattered and directly broke into pieces. Immediately, cracking sounds sounded one after another. All 49 bone flags were broken and fell from the sky. Suddenly, the demonic might that filled the sky disappeared without a trace. This space became bright again in an instant. It's all broken. It's too fragile. Could it be a one-time killing forbidden weapon? Many people were stupefied. Such a terrifying set of 49 bone banners. Yet they were all shattered with just a single strike. In the distance, Wuxing Crocodile rolled her eyes and said, just as Master Crocodile guessed at the time, because the damage is too serious, it can only be used once, and it won't last long. In the sky, Lin Tian was stained with blood, and his clothes were fluttering. It's your turn. He stared at Enlongjing with a cold expression. With a boom, a dazzling golden light surged out from his body, dyeing his hair golden. His body was slender, and he walked towards Enlongjing step by step like the Ruotian Emperor. Every step made the sky tremble. Enlongjing's eyes shot two cold lights that were almost solid. Lin Tian's posture made her very uncomfortable. His black hair danced, and the light in his eyes was even more terrifying. The chaotic light intertwined, and the king's territory's chaotic immortal river rushed up behind him like the Milky Way. At the same time, a wave of great Tao nomological laws swept out from his body, and in an instant, Tao light overflowed. This is the chaos great Tao, the fourth great Tao among the 3,000 great Tao. Sure enough, the great Tao comprehended by the chaos constitution must be the chaos great Tao. This is the king's body. You are born with such a cultivation advantage. Once you step into the great Tao domain, you can easily comprehend the great Tao that has a similar aura to your own king's body origin. The great Tao that has a similar aura to the king's body origin is all ranked at the top. How great would it be if I also had a king's body? Many cultivators looked at Enlonjing in surprise and envy. Boom! As soon as the chaos great Tao appeared, the entire space shook, and chaotic immortal lotuses appeared. In the blink of an eye, they covered every corner of the space and surrounded Lin Tian in the middle like chaotic immortal generals. Bai Ziki and the other two, as well as Wuxing Crocodile, were all shocked. They could see that these chaotic immortal lotuses were evolved from the chaos great Tao, and each of them contained terrifying Tao power. They could definitely easily crush a peak great Tao powerhouse to death. Wuxing Crocodile said in a low voice, I wonder if that kid's nameless great Tao can rival the chaos great Tao. It definitely can. I believe in him. Bai Qiu clenched his fists. The four people and the crocodile all looked at Lin Tian. Lin Tian's expression was cold. He faced the sky full of chaotic immortal lotuses and looked at Enlonjing, who was surging with chaotic light. His expression did not change at all, and his footsteps did not change at all. The reincarnation map rushed out from behind him with a buzz. Then, in the next moment, wisps of Tao light surged out from his body. They flickered with a faint, strange light, mysterious and hazy. This is the great Tao nomological laws. It is the great Tao nomological laws. There are fluctuations of Tao. But what kind of Tao is this? I'm not sure. But why does it feel like I'm looking at the vast starry sky? Many people looked at Lin Tian and were stunned. They could not understand what kind of Tao the Tao nomological laws outside Lin Tian's body was. At this moment, not only these people, but even Enlonjing's eyes narrowed, and a hint of doubt flashed in them. However, this was only for a moment. In the next moment, the doubt in his eyes disappeared and was covered by cold, killing intent again. With a rumble, he supported the chaos great Tao. The chaotic light of the great Tao surged, and the densely packed, chaotic, immortal lotuses moved together, attacking Lin Tian mightily. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. With a stomp of his feet, the Tao light around his body immediately spread out, turning into a rain of swords, facing the densely packed, chaotic, immortal lotuses that were attacking him. Chi! 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 In an instant, the chaotic, immortal lotuses that filled the sky exploded one by one, crushed by the nameless great Tao one after another. He crushed the immortal lotuses condensed by the chaos great Tao. What kind of great Tao is that? How can it be compared to the chaos great Tao? Many cultivators turned pale with fright. The chaos great Tao was ranked fourth among the 3,000 great Taos. But now, the light of the great Tao nomological laws that Lin Tian unleashed easily crushed the chaotic immortal lotuses condensed by the chaos great Tao. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. The golden divine light around his body surged, and his footsteps became faster. With a shake of the Chaos Emperor fist, an immortal phoenix true dragon appeared and punched at Enlonjing. At the same time, the reincarnation diagram above his head trembled, releasing a mighty divine and holy aura that suppressed the surroundings, as if it was going to send Enlonjing into the murky darkness. This kind of attitude was domineering and incomparably imposing, causing everyone to be moved. So powerful. Some people's eyes flickered. Enlonjing's eyes were even more frightening. The vast, chaotic, immortal lotuses that filled the sky pressed down on Lin Tian. At the same time, she also moved. She used the chaotic, immortal river to meet the reincarnation diagram. used the defying immortal myriad layers to meet the Chaos Emperor Fist, and used the Chaos Great Tao to suppress eternity. For a time, the Chaos Great Tao and the Chaos Great Tao surged. The destructive aura soared, and the murderous light was awe-inspiring. Lin Tian was fearless. The black hair in front of his forehead danced. He controlled the reincarnation diagram and unleashed the Chaos Emperor Fist, suppressing the nameless Great Tao. It was as if an immortal emperor had been reborn, suppressing all things. In an instant, the two collided. All kinds of divine light and Tao radiance danced, directly annihilating everything around them. Boom! Lin Tian's body was slender, and Enlongjing's eyes were cold. Both of their auras were powerful and oppressive. They attacked each other in the sky, full of divine light. Divine abilities and secret techniques collided, and great Tao nomological laws clashed. Neither of them gave in, and the sky was full of destructive aura. Boom! 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 Heaven and earth shook, rumbling, and terrifying air vibrations rippled out. There were even arcs of lightning intertwining. That person's Great Tao really completely blocked the Chaos Great Tao. He's actually not at a disadvantage at all. What Tao is that? Is it as powerful as the Chaos Great Tao? Many cultivators were shocked. As far as the eye could see, the Tao radiance outside Lin Tian's body collided with Enlongjing's Chaos Great Tao. It was actually not weak at all. It disintegrated Enlongjing's Chaos Great Tao again and again, shocking many cultivators. No, that's not right. It's not as powerful as the Chaos Great Tao. His cultivation level is lower than Enlongjing's by 3 minor realms. Normally speaking, his Great Tao nomological laws would not be as mature and complete as Enlongjing's Great Tao nomological laws. To be able to completely block Enlongjing's Chaos Great Tao in such a state and continuously disintegrate the Chaos Tao radiance, this situation can only be said to be. An older cultivator at the 9th heaven of the Great Tao said, his eyes flashing fiercely. The Great Tao nomological laws he controls are stronger than the Chaos Great Tao. Hearing this, the nearby cultivators were shocked again. Their gazes fell on Lin Tian, and all of them were shocked. His Tao is stronger than the Chaos Great Tao. Someone was shocked. Boom! On the battlefield, billowing divine power broke through the clouds, and waves of destruction spread out continuously, spreading out in all directions. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. He propped up the king's domain, waved his emperor's fist, and suppressed the Tao radiance. He fought with Enlongjing from the sky to the ground, and from the ground to the firmament. They fought until blood splattered and flesh flew everywhere. Among them, there was his blood, as well as Enlongjing's blood. However, he didn't seem to care about this in the slightest. Enlon and Jing Yi's expressions didn't change. The two's eyes were both cold, killing intent erupting in all directions. Both of them carried destructive divine might as they attacked the other. After that, hundreds of breaths passed in the blink of an eye. Both of them had been blasted to pieces by each other more than 10 times. The aura outside their bodies was already extremely weak, and even the Tao radiance had been concealed. They began the most primitive physical confrontation. Bang! Lin Tian punched out heavily, landing on Enlongjing's chest, directly breaking several of Enlongjing's ribs. At this time, his injuries were extremely serious, and he no longer had the strength to shatter the powerful chaotic physique with a punch. Enlongjing flew backward and roared in a low voice. She forcefully stabilized her body, turned around, and landed a kick on Lin Tian's body. Lin Tian's body shook, and he directly coughed up blood. All the bones in his body seemed to be about to fall apart in the next moment, and intense pain spread throughout his body. However, he did not care. His eyes were still cold, and he endured the pain of his broken body and stepped forward, raising his fist and punching Enlongjing. Enlongjing's eyes were also frightening. Her blood-stained hair danced wildly, and she rushed towards Lin Tian like a demon king. Bang! 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 The two of them collided. There was no magical power or secret technique, just the most primitive attack of fists and feet. It's a draw, evenly matched. That person is actually not weak with the chaotic imperial physique. Many cultivators were shocked. In the field, Lin Tian and Enlongjing's bodies were already on the verge of collapse, and each of them blasted the other several zhang away with a punch. They were both gasping for breath, and blood was gushing out of their mouths. However, their eyes were incomparably cold, and their killing intent was surging like a vast ocean. Kill! Kill! The two of them roared, stomped on the ground, and once again rushed towards each other with their fists. Suddenly, a brown figure flashed past. It was actually a little squirrel who had rushed into this battlefield at some point in time. It bared its teeth, and with a fierce appearance, it pounced to Enlongjing's side and bit Enlongjing's right wrist. Chapter 893. Outside the battlefield, the expressions of all the cultivators changed. There was actually an ordinary little squirrel that had unknowingly rushed into the battlefield. At this moment, it bit Enlongjing's wrist with an angry expression. All the hair on its body stood on end. Many cultivators were shocked and stunned. Lin Tian's expression changed immediately as he recognized this little squirrel. It was clearly that little thing he had encountered when he first entered this immortal estate world. At that time, the little thing had suffered some injuries, and he had used his divine power to heal the little thing's injuries. At this time, when he saw the little squirrel jump out and bite Enlongjing, his heart moved. This little thing was helping him. Get lost! Enlongjing's eyes were cold. She shook her hand and shook the little squirrel away. With a bang, the little squirrel flew more than 9 feet away. After landing on the ground, it let out a wail and suddenly stopped moving. Lin Tian's expression changed, and his body trembled slightly. Enlongjing! He roared, and his black hair danced wildly. At this moment, he clenched his right fist, and golden divine light surged out. A true dragon appeared, and it let out an earth-shaking dragon roar. With one step, he stepped in front of Enlongjing. Enlongjing's expression changed. You! Lin Tian's fist landed firmly on Enlongjing's body, directly shattering half of Enlongjing's body. At the same time, Enlongjing was sent flying more than 10 feet away. He gritted his teeth and stepped in front of Enlongjing again. For a moment, violent fist shadows fell on Enlongjing like raindrops. Bang! 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 He moved his fists together, and the golden fist shadows blasted out one after another. The sky was filled with blood, and the void was distorted inch by inch. Ah! Enlongjing roared and forcibly condensed a complete body. She blocked Lin Tian's fist shadows and retreated 3 feet away. However, Lin Tian's aura completely suppressed her at this time. He took a step forward and approached again like lightning. You bang! Another punch, this time landing on Enlongjing's face, directly sending her flying. Blood splattered all over the sky. Lin Tiandao's body was full of wounds, blood staining his clothes. However, at this time, he didn't adjust his breathing at all. After sending Enlongjing flying, he once again stepped forward, his golden fist directly smashing down. Bang! Once again, Enlongjing was hit and coughed up blood. Scram! Enlongjing roared as she dodged Lin Tian's golden fist. Her 5 fingers clawed at Lin Tian's chest and tore off a large chunk of flesh, turning Lin Tian's chest into a bloody mess. Gritting his teeth, Lin Tian reached out with his left hand and grabbed Enlongjing's arm. He swung his right fist and punched her again. With a bang, Enlongjing's face was punched again. There was a clear sound of bones cracking, and the bridge of her nose was directly smashed. Enlongjing roared and used her strength to shake off Lin Tian's left hand. However, Lin Tian's right fist had already landed again. Bang! Enlongjing was sent flying again, blood floating in the air. Lin Tianyi stepped on the ground and closed in again. Both his hands moved together, and the fist shadows appeared again, enveloping Enlongjing completely. Ah! Enlongjing roared and bellowed. However, she couldn't break free from Lin Tian's fist for a while. As Lin Tion's fist shadows pressed down, strands of chaotic divine blood floated out, sprinkling all over the sky. This, Enlonging lost. The chaotic king physique, one of the 9 heavens of the Great Tao, actually lost to a peer of the 6th heavens of the Great Tao. Some cultivators muttered to themselves. Everyone was stunned. No matter what, these people would never have thought that Enlonging would actually lose, and lose to someone who was 3 minor realms lower than them in cultivation. When experts fight, sometimes a small action can break the balance and affect the entire battle. An older generation expert stared at the little squirrel in the distance. Everything is because of that little thing. Beside him, the other cultivators followed his gaze. Their eyes flickered, shocked and suspicious. Why would an ordinary little squirrel rush into such a battlefield? Why would it pounce and bite the chaotic physique? Everyone was puzzled. Bang! 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 On the battlefield, Enlonging was in an extremely sorry state at this moment. She was being suppressed by Lin Tian, and chaotic divine blood kept splattering. Ah! She let out an angry roar and forcefully guided strands of chaotic light to protect her body. At the same time, she attacked Lin Tian. However, this strand of chaotic light was smashed by Lin Tian's fist as soon as it appeared. With a bang, Enlonging was sent flying again, blood splattering everywhere. He won. In the distance, Bai Qiu couldn't help but be surprised and clench her fists. This freakish brat, with his 6th firmament of the Great Tao, he really defeated a 9th firmament chaotic king physique. Even the old monster whooshing crocodile couldn't help but be shocked. However, its gaze also fell on the little squirrel further away. It knew very well that the current battle situation had a lot to do with this little thing pouncing and biting Enlonging. Beside them, Bai Ziki and Yang Qi's eyes were also shining. At this time, the mountain range was almost destroyed. The ground had collapsed and sunk more than 100 feet. The surface was full of cracks, and old trees were broken. It was a complete scene after the apocalypse. Bang! On the battlefield, Enlonging was once again sent flying by Lin Tian. Her chest was completely caved in, and her cheeks were full of blood. Lin Tian took a step forward and closed in on Enlonging. His aura was clearly at its weakest, but it gave off an extremely terrifying feeling. It was as if a legendary fiend god had stepped out of the long river of time and space. Dong! He punched down. His body was clearly covered in blood, but it still shook the sky and sent Enlonging flying again. With a puff, one of Enlonging's arms was smashed. Blood filled the sky and didn't condense for a long time. Damn it! Enlonging growled. At this moment, her hair was disheveled, and she looked even more miserable. Her eyes were as terrifying as a ferocious beast. Lin Tian's body was covered in blood, and even his hair was stuck with blood. However, his eyes were even more terrifying than Enlonging's. Enlonging! He stepped forward and clenched his right fist. The faint image of a true dragon appeared again. Although it was extremely blurry, it still had an extremely terrifying aura, as if it could crush everything. Kill! He growled and stomped on the ground, almost turning into a true dragon as he charged towards Enlonging. In an instant, all the cultivators here changed expressions. Is the chaotic physique going to be killed? Enlonging is already on the verge of death. She can no longer resist. The dazzling chaotic king physique is going to meet its end here. All the cultivators were shocked. A chaotic king physique was going to be obliterated in this place in front of their eyes. Boom! Lin Tian punched. His eyes were like swords, and his aura was like a god. When his fist landed, the large void directly collapsed inch by inch. The destructive punch was aimed at Enlonging's head, and it arrived in the blink of an eye. Buzz! At this moment, Enlonging growled. A pure white light screen rushed out of her body and directly blocked Lin Tian's punch. It also forced Lin Tian back more than 10 steps. Cough! Lin Tian coughed up blood and looked up. He saw the void beside Enlonging distort, and a door opened. His eyes were cold. He knew this scene too well. Enlonging had opened the spatial teleportation platform. Enlonging? Are you trying to escape? He roared. and Longjing's hair was disheveled, and she was extremely embarrassed. Only her eyes were still extremely frightening, and there was endless killing intent in them. "I will kill you," he said coldly. Behind him, the void door emitted rays of light and gradually pulled her in. This is a spatial portal, and Longjing has a spatial teleportation platform on her. This scene, could it be a spatial teleportation platform that transcends the heavens? Many cultivators were shocked. In the distance, Ziki and the other two, as well as Whooshing Crocodile, naturally also saw it. Whooshing Crocodile gritted his teeth. That little bastard actually has such a life-saving thing on her. On the battlefield, Lin Tian was even more furious. His black hair danced wildly as he directly stepped forward. However, he had just taken 3 steps when his body trembled violently, and he directly coughed out a mouthful of blood. At this moment, Longjing's figure was also swallowed by the spatial portal and disappeared in front of him. He gritted his teeth and clenched his fists, but there was nothing he could do. At this time, his divine power had already dried up, and his injuries were extremely serious. Even his vision was blurred. Blood flowed into his eyes, causing his vision to be blood red. He could not see anything clearly, and with a bang, he fell into the dust. In the distance, Ziki and the other two, as well as Whooshing Crocodile, were all shocked and immediately revealed worried expressions. "Brad, hang in there," Whooshing Crocodile shouted. The 5-colored wings on its back spread out, and it turned into a 5-colored strange light, instantly arriving beside Lin Tian. At the same time, Ziki and the other two arrived one after another, and at the same time used their divine power to help Lin Tian heal his injuries. Buzz! They were all experts, and their divine power was pure. Soon, Lin Tian's injured body began to heal, and the cracks on his body began to heal at an extremely fast speed. After dozens of breaths, Lin Tian's complexion gradually improved. He coughed dryly, and blood flowed out of his mouth. "Damn it, this injury is really serious." Whooshing Crocodile ground its teeth. Ever since it had met Lin Tian, apart from the 2 heavenly tribulations of the Great Tao, this was the first time it had seen Lin Tian so seriously injured. After all, the opponent was in Longjing, Yang Qi said in a low voice. The group of people quickly sent their divine power to Lin Tian, causing Lin Tian's injuries to heal even faster. In the blink of an eye, dozens of breaths passed. At this time, Lin Tian's complexion finally improved. Although it was still pale, there was a hint of color. "It's done," Yang Qi said. "It's done." Ziki and the others retracted their divine power and breathed sighs of relief. "Not bad, kid. You defeated the king of primal chaos physique with a cultivation base of 3 minor levels. That's enough to shake the world." Whooshing Crocodile bared its fangs. "I was lucky." Lin Tian forced a smile. Using his right hand to prop himself up, he looked over at the little squirrel in the distance. The others followed his gaze, and their gazes fell on the little squirrel. Speaking of which, this little thing that suddenly appeared can be considered as a great help to you, Whooshing Crocodile said. Lin Tian nodded. He knew better than anyone that if the little squirrel hadn't suddenly jumped out and bitten in Longjing, it would have been hard to say who would have won the battle. At this time, his body was still in pain, and he walked over to the little squirrel. Chapter 894. Lin Tian came to the side of the little squirrel. The little thing was lying on the ground, breathing heavily, but fortunately, it hasn't died yet. Lin Tian breathed a sigh of relief. He supported his seriously injured body and forcibly operated the Sun Nirvana technique. Wisps of blood-red flames jumped, interweaving into wisps of divine light, protecting the little thing's last wisp of life. It won't die, but it will take at least another 3 to 5 days to fully recover, Whooshing Crocodile said. Lin Tian Wei nodded slightly. He could see that the little squirrel was seriously injured. "Let's find a more secluded place," he said. "Okay." Ziki and the other two nodded. Lin Tian was seriously injured at this time, and he had to treat the little squirrel. It's obviously not a good thing to continue to stay here. Immediately, the group stood up, glanced around, and walked away. Because Lin Tian was seriously injured, their speed wasn't fast, but it wasn't too slow either. Soon, they left the ruined mountain range and disappeared from the eyes of the cultivators in this place. That person actually defeated the chaotic king body. It feels like a dream. This is the true number 1 young king in the 5th heaven. And Longjing is also the number 1 young king in the 7th heaven. If that's the case, that person isn't just the number 1 young king in the 5th heaven. Even in the 7th heaven, he is absolutely invincible. Terrifying. Seeing Lin Tian leaving with by Ziki and the others, these cultivators trembled. At the same time, some people shook their heads. And Longjing really suffered a heavy loss this time. The Pearl of the Zhan family followed him here and was killed in the 5th heaven. The 9 powerful generals under her seemed to have all died in battle. She was also defeated and had to rely on the teleportation platform to escape. It's a bit shameful, right? It's a bit shameful, at least it's a loss of face. After all, just a moment ago, she was known as the number 1 in her generation, but now, she was defeated so miserably. It's a bit sad. Many cultivators shook their heads. Many people looked in the direction where Lin Tian had left. They could no longer see Lin Tian's figure, but their eyes were still filled with shock. At this time, Lin Tian and the others had already left the battlefield in the mountains far away and were staying in a secluded cave in another mountain. Lin Tian circulated the Sun Nirvana spell to silently heal his injuries. At the same time, he used the Sun Nirvana spell to envelop the little squirrel. Buzz! Instantly, the blood-colored flames on his body flickered. It was a little hot and a little bright. His aura rose bit by bit, causing the squirrel's injuries to rapidly recover. Ziki and the other 2 were silently guarding him from the side. Now that they saw this scene up close, they couldn't help but feel shocked. This is definitely an incredible healing Saint art, Whooshing Crocodile said. An old monster like it definitely had good eyesight. This guy really knows a lot of magical arts. Bai Chiu muttered. Lin Tian closed his eyes and silently circulated the Sun Nirvana spell. The light on the surface of his body became thicker, and his aura became stronger. In the blink of an eye, 18 hours had passed, and Lin Tian's aura had completely recovered. At this moment, he opened his eyes. 2 rays of light flashed in his eyes, almost illuminating the entire cave. At the same time, the little squirrel beside him had also completely recovered. It moved slightly and opened its eyes. This brat suffered such heavy injuries, yet he was able to completely recover in 18 hours. Even this little thing only took 18 hours to completely recover. Is that healing saint technique really that powerful? Whooshing Crocodile was shocked. Ziki and the other 2 were also shocked, but they quickly calmed down. At this moment, they all looked at Lin Tian, who had opened his eyes. Lin Tian smiled and nodded at the 3 people and the crocodile. At this moment, seeing that the little squirrel had also recovered and opened its eyes, he was really relieved. He sent another ray of light into the little guy's body. Instantly, the little squirrel's injuries were not only healed, but its fur also became softer and shinier. There were traces of sparkling light flickering. It made a goo-goo sound at Lin Tian. It looked very happy and used its claws to pull at Lin Tian's sleeve. It knows you? The 3 people and the crocodile were slightly stunned. Lin Tian nodded and stroked the little squirrel's soft fur. He smiled and said, "A few months ago, I came to this immortal estate world to look for you. This little thing was injured. It seemed to have escaped from the claws of an eagle. It was pitifully curled up beside a rock. I helped it heal its injuries and then left. I didn't expect that this little thing would actually chase me to that big mountain range." This made the 3 people and the crocodile even more moved. Whooshing Crocodile said, "Maybe it followed your scent all the way there. Or maybe it ran into that mountain range by coincidence and just happened to meet you. After all, it's all in this immortal estate world." After saying that, it opened its mouth again. Looking at the little squirrel with soft fur, it clicked its tongue and said, "However, This little guy is really brave. When he ran to that place and saw you fighting with that chaotic bastard, he actually directly pounced and bit you. So cute. Such a little guy actually knows how to repay kindness. Vaiziki blinked and stroked the little thing's fur. Very good, Vaiziki said. It was really rare for a steady man like him to give such an evaluation to a little animal. Lin Tian nodded. How should I say it? Sometimes people are really not as good as small animals. He rubbed the little squirrel's head and said, in the past, I helped a big force in the third heaven to find their ancestor who had been trapped for a long time. Along the way, I pulled the people who accompanied me back from the dead several times. In the end, I rescued their ancestor from the predicament, but what I didn't expect was that the other party directly tried to seize my body, pulling me back from the dead again and again. The few people who asked me to save them helped that old thing to suppress me. After I was lucky enough to escape, I was chased by that big force again and again. Hearing this, the three people and the crocodile were all moved. Is there such a thing? Bai Qiu stared at him. Whooshing crocodile gritted its teeth. Damn it, that's enough. This is really repaying kindness with ingratitude. After saying that, it continued. The major forces in the third heaven don't seem to be too strong. With our current strength, it's enough to suppress any major force in the third heaven. How about it? Do you want to overturn them and vent your anger? No, when I left the third heaven and went to the fourth heaven, that major force had already been destroyed. Lin Tian smiled and said. When he said this, the three people and the crocodile couldn't help but feel a little surprised. When you went to the fourth heaven, that major force was destroyed. Whooshing crocodile looked at Lin Tian strangely. It's impossible for you to destroy them. At that time, you shouldn't have such strength. It looked at Lin Tian from head to toe and said, however, looking at you, Master Crocodile can guess that the destruction of that major force must be related to you. Vaiziki and the other two looked at Lin Tian. They also had the same feeling as Whooshing Crocodile. They were all a little curious. It's indeed related to me. Lin Tian nodded and said, how should I say it? It's my master who destroyed it. Your master? The three people and the crocodile were taken aback. You have a master? Bai Qiu was surprised. Suddenly, she remembered something and said, by the way, you said before that you have been cultivating in the deep mountains and forests. At that time, you were following your master. Hearing this, Lin Tian suddenly felt a little embarrassed. When he first met Bai Qiu, he just said this to brush her off. He didn't expect this girl to remember it all the time. You can say that. He was a little embarrassed. The fact that he has a master isn't a big secret. There's no need to hide it, not to mention that Vaiziki and the others are asking him. Hearing what he said, the group became more curious. Lin Tian really has a master. Whooshing Crocodile looked at Lin Tian and said, to be able to teach a disciple like you, your master can't be weak. What is his cultivation realm? Bai Qiu blinked and looked at him with a pleading look. Vaiziki and Yang Qi's gazes also landed on him. Honestly speaking, I'm not sure about his cultivation realm. Lin Tian shook his head and said, however, that old man killed a great success monarch physique. What? The three people and one crocodile were all shocked. Existences at the level of great success king physique are existences that ordinary half-step emperors could not withstand more than a dozen moves. They are truly unparalleled beneath the emperor realm. Furthermore, some extremely powerful great success king physique existences could even kill ordinary emperors at the first level of primal chaos realm. Your teacher actually killed a great success king physique expert before. Whooshing Crocodile stared and couldn't stay calm. Lin Tian nodded and said, oh, it seems like it didn't take much effort. What? It didn't take much effort? The three people and one crocodile were shocked again. It didn't take much effort to kill a great success monarch physique expert. It seems so. Lin Tian on Dao. The three people and one crocodile couldn't help but stare. Not bad, kid. You have quite a lot of backup. You have a sister who is an unparalleled demon emperor and a master who can kill a great success monarch physique expert. Why don't you go to heaven? Whooshing crocodile grinded its teeth and said, "Speaking of which, who is your master? Tell me about it." To be able to kill a great success monarch physique expert so easily, he must be an old monster who has lived for thousands of years. Lin Tian glanced at it and said, "What old monster who has lived for thousands of years? My master was only born for 100 years. Only born for 100 years." The three people and one crocodile were shocked again. "Kid, you are bragging too much." Whooshing crocodile stared at him. To be able to kill a great success monarch physique expert after cultivating for only 100 years without any effort. This grandpa crocodile has never heard of such a heaven-defying character in the history of cultivation. Not only it, even Bai Ziki and Yang Qi's eyes were filled with shock. To be able to kill a half-step emperor after cultivating for a little more than 100 years, and to do it so effortlessly, how was this possible unless there was a miracle? That old man. Those who know him all describe him as a peerless genius. Lin Tian smiled. To be honest, he was really proud to have such a master. The three people and one crocodile looked at him and were really shocked. "This is really..." Whooshing crocodile grinned. "He is indeed worthy of the title of a peerless genius. Truly heaven-defying. To have such a genius master and a demon emperor's sister. If the world knew, who would dare to provoke you?" Bai Chiu muttered. Chapter 895. Bai Ziki and the other two, as well as the whooshing crocodile, were really shocked by Lin Tian. They originally thought that Lin Tian only had a powerful demon emperor behind him. They never thought that he had a master who could kill a great accomplishment king physique without much effort. Most importantly, this master was only over 100 years old. He had only cultivated for over 100 years. How terrifying was that? "That's too exaggerated," Bai Chiu muttered. The group stared at Lin Tian with astonishment in their eyes. This made Lin Tian a little embarrassed. He smiled and said, "Cultivation mainly depends on oneself." "Cuckoo." The little squirrel made a crisp sound and crawled around his body, looking very happy. Lin Tian smiled and rubbed the little thing's head again. "Let's go. We can leave this place," he said, now that his injuries were healed, and his essence, energy, and spirit were even stronger. There was no need for him to stay here any longer. Immediately, the group left and walked out. They were currently in a large mountain range. The mountain range was not very eye-catching, but the spirit chi was relatively abundant. After all, this was the Immortal Mansion world. Any mountain inside the Immortal Mansion world would not be lacking in spirit chi. The group of people slowly walked through the mountains. Not long after, they arrived at a place where the spirit chi was denser. Lin Tian stopped and carried the little squirrel down from his shoulder. "Little guy, let's part here. Live well in the future and pay attention to your safety," he said. They were all cultivators, and they could encounter dangerous battles at any time. It was naturally impossible to bring a little squirrel with them. That would not be a good thing for them or the little squirrel. The little squirrel blinked its eyes and was a little reluctant to leave. However, it was very obedient. After making a few goo-goo sounds at Lin Tian, it turned around and climbed up a large tree, quickly leaving the area. Lin Tian smiled and looked at Bai Ziki and the other two, as well as the whooshing crocodile. "Okay, let's go." He glanced in the direction the little squirrel left, and then the three people and the crocodile soared into the sky and stepped into the distance. Very quickly, the group of people left the range of the mountain and traveled far away. "Where are we going next?" Whooshing crocodile asked. Then he continued, "Oh, speaking of which, our recent gains have been quite good. We've made several breakthroughs in our cultivation. Why don't we go for a walk to cultivate our minds?" During this period of time, their harvest in the fifth heaven can be regarded as extremely amazing. Not only did they obtain many rare treasures, but they also stepped into a new realm several times. The speed of their promotion is extremely fast, far exceeding the normal level. At this moment, it felt that it was not a bad idea to relax a little and look at the scenery. After all, although a cultivator's cultivation realm was important, the state of mind was equally important. Sometimes, The state of mind was even more important than one's strength. Bai Qiu looked outside the immortal residence and whispered, "My brother and I have been out for many years. I want to go home and take a look." Bai Ziki didn't say anything, but there was a faint light in his eyes. Hearing this, Lin Tian's heart skipped a beat. A few familiar and nostalgic figures quickly appeared in his mind. "Then let's go back." "I think so too," he said. Thinking about it, he has been separated from Lin Shi, Su Shu, and Ji Yu for a long time. It's time to go back and see them. There's also the girl from the third heaven, Shui Yi, and Ling Yun. He hasn't seen them for a long time. He misses them very much. Moreover, when he was in the heavenly palace of death, he already had this plan. He planned to go back and see them after leaving the heavenly palace of death. However, after leaving the heavenly palace of death, the immortal mansion world opened, and he sensed the aura of the sword soul fragment. Then, he fought with the sun physique and found the heavenly lord's cave. Then it's settled. Let's go back now. Bai Qiu was a little happy. Wuxing Crocodile flapped its wings and said casually, "Master Crocodile is fine. Wherever Bratlin goes, Master Crocodile will go." It didn't have any other concerns. Naturally, it had nothing to do with Lin Tianyi. Lin Tian nodded and looked at Yang Qi. "What about you? Let's go back." Yang Qi nodded, and a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. "There are some grudges that need to be settled." "Enmity? What enmity?" The five elements crocodile looked at Yang Qi, waved his claws, and bared his fangs. "Saberman, you brat, talk to Lord Crocodile later. What are we afraid of? We'll crush them." It didn't know what Yang Qi's grudges were, but Lin Tian and the other two knew. Yang Qi's family was also a super force in the second heaven, not much weaker than the Bai family. Later, because of a catastrophe, the family's strength was greatly reduced. The Taishan Holy Land and Wantong Holy Land took the opportunity to destroy the Yang family and took away everything except the treasured saber. Today, Yang Qi was the last bloodline of the Yang family. This was the hatred of the extermination of the family. Back then, Yang Qi didn't have the strength to deal with the Taishan Holy Land and Wantong Holy Land. He could only endure and avoid the joint pursuit of the two holy lands. But now, he was strong enough to go back and settle this grudge. "When we return to the second heaven, we will go with you," Lin Tian said. His voice wasn't loud, but it was very firm. Yang Qi nodded gently, not saying any words of thanks because with their relationship, there was no need to say such words. "Let's go." Lin Tian. Thinking of Yang Qi's matter, his eyes were intertwined with a cold light. After returning to the second heaven, he will destroy the Leaf family. At that moment, the group didn't stop and walked towards the void portal that led to this immortal mansion world. Their speed wasn't fast, but it wasn't slow either. Soon, they crossed several mountains. Clang! Suddenly, a murderous light slashed from a mountain not far away. It was peerlessly sharp, causing the void to shatter in an instant. The four people and one crocodile trembled in unison, all feeling the threat of death. Lin Tian's body flashed with golden divine light, and he used the fifth layer of the Yin and Yang Sutra at the fastest speed, enveloping Bai Qiu and the others, avoiding the terrifying murderous light at the critical moment. Boom! The murderous light landed on a mountain in the distance, directly turning the mountain into ashes. "Which bastard is it?" Wuxing Crocodile shouted. Lin Tian and the others also looked coldly in the direction of the murderous light. There, on a mountain, a dozen figures stepped forward, each of them exuding a tyrannical aura, and their eyes were very cold. Especially the leader of these dozen people, a gray-robed old man. Although his body was dry, his eyes were the coldest. The aura on his body surged like rolling lead clouds, and wherever it passed, the space was constantly distorted. Looking at this person, the four people and one crocodile's faces changed. Where did the sixth heavenly layer of enlightenment come from? Wuxing Crocodile was moved. In the past, the cultivator of the sixth heavenly layer of enlightenment was not even an ant to it, but now its cultivation had fallen, and it was only at the fourth heavenly layer of Great Tao. At this time, It really had to be careful when encountering a cultivator of the sixth heavenly layer of enlightenment. There's a familiar aura. Lin Tian's face was slightly solemn, and then a faint light flashed in his eyes. The people of the Zhan family. A few months ago, a group of great Dao realm powerhouses from the Zhan family came from the seventh heaven and surrounded by Ziki and the others. At that time, he killed a lot of people, and he vaguely remembered the unique aura of those people. That aura, these people also have it. In fact, his feeling wasn't wrong. These dozens of people are indeed the powerhouses of the Zhan family. After the dozens of people from the Zhan family who came down from the seventh heaven were killed, the Zhan family sent more powerful people to this heaven and found them at this moment. Damn the Zhan family. Those bastards from the Zhan family said that there would be Wuzhen-level Zhan family elders coming. I didn't expect them to really come. Moreover, it's a sixth sky of Wuzhen. Wuxing Crocodile gritted his teeth. In front of them, more than a dozen people pressed forward. Each of them had a monstrous, murderous aura, causing the surrounding space to shatter. You bunch of damn things. How dare you hurt my precious great-granddaughter? Among the dozen people, the gray-robed old man who was the leader spoke. His voice was like two pieces of glass rubbing against each other. It was a little creepy, coupled with his somewhat sunken pupils. It gave people a terrifying feeling. As the old man spat out such a sentence, a violent killing intent surged, pressing towards Lin Tian and the others like a tidal wave. Lin Tian and the others quickly propped up their divine power to resist, but it was instantly shattered. All of them were sent flying more than 10 meters away before they could stabilize their figures. Their faces turned a little pale. It's a little troublesome, Bai Ziki said solemnly. It's not a little troublesome, it's very troublesome. Wuxing Crocodile gritted his teeth. Their group wasn't weak and Lin Tian was very strong. But no matter how strong he is, it's impossible for him to block a sixth heavenly layer of enlightenment. The gap between them is too big. It's impossible to escape. More than a dozen people from the Zhan family walked over step by step. They were at least of the Great Path level. Their gazes were piercingly cold as they stared at the four people and the crocodile, full of murderous intent. They strode over, and then a few of them worked together to hold up a treasured banner. The banner was densely covered in talisman markings, and it actually completely sealed off the space in an area of 300 m in the blink of an eye, not giving Lin Tian and the others the slightest chance to escape. For a moment, the group's expression changed again. Boom! Divine power raged, and the murderous intent was terrifying, causing the entire space within a radius of several hundred meters to tremble. The gray-robed old man walked alone, pressing towards Lin Tian and the others. His expression was extremely cold, and murderous aura surged around him. I will extract your divine souls and suppress them in front of Yuji's tomb forever, the old man said coldly. With a rumble, the old man took a step forward. Terrifying murderous aura intertwined, like a vast sea pressing down on the group. The four people and the crocodile were all shocked. This kind of attack was too strong. They didn't dare to be careless in the slightest. Each of them urged their strongest combat power, displaying one divine power after another as they faced forward to resist this wave of murderous aura that swept over. However, this murderous aura came from the hand of a sixth heavenly layer of enlightenment. Its power was so strong that it made one's heart tremble. In just an instant, it crushed all the divine power and secret techniques they propped up, causing them to fly away together, each coughing out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 896. Lin Tian and the others were sent flying. When they stabilized themselves in the distance, blood overflowed from their mouths, and their faces became even paler. What should we do? Wuxing Crocodile gritted his teeth. Lin Tian and the other three naturally looked dignified. The sixth stage of Wuzhen was too strong, and they couldn't stop him at all. Boom! In front of them, the murderous intent surged again and became even more terrifying. The gray-robed old man from the Zhan clan stood in the air and moved once more. His shriveled body emitted a terrifying energy fluctuation, and he was like a death god pressing down on Lin Tian and the others. His gaze was even more cruel, filled with venom. Damnable bastards. As his words fell, the space rumbled as if it was alive. The void vibrated like killing patterns. The four people and the crocodile were all shocked and stepped back. The blood in their bodies was tumbling, and they almost coughed out blood again. This old bastard, whooshing crocodile cursed in a low voice. Baiziki and the others each propped up the divine light curtain. Their faces were very pale, and their expressions were more dignified. It was also at this time that the murderous intent surged again. The gray-robed elder stepped on the void step by step, and the murderous intent outside his body was even more terrifying. Kid Lin, let the little guy in your body wake up and intimidate him, whooshing crocodile said quickly. Lin Tian shook his head and said in a low voice, the little guy is still in the egg and has not been born. Now it has no real combat power. It may have a deterrent effect on some unintelligent creatures, but it won't work on intelligent creatures. Whooshing crocodile gritted his teeth. Yes, it seems to be so. As he said, he couldn't help but grit his teeth. What else can we do now? Are we really going to die here? Damn it, Lord Crocodile hasn't ascended to the chaotic realm yet. Beside him, Bai Qiu, Bai Ziki, and Yang Qi were also not looking good. They walked towards the gray-robed elder. That murderous intent and divine power were too terrifying. They definitely couldn't block it. At the same time, the surrounding void was completely sealed. Right now, it was impossible for them to even escape. If this were to carry on, all of them would definitely be killed by this old man from the Zhan family. I have an idea, Lin Tian suddenly said. He stared at the gray-robed old man in front of him. At this moment, strands of cold light flashed in his eyes. What is it? Hurry up and use it, whooshing crocodile urged. At this time, as the gray-clothed elder pressed down, his killing intent was like an enormous wave of ice crushing down on them, making them feel extremely uncomfortable. Lin Tian stared ahead and nodded slightly. All of you back off first. Protect your minds, Lin Tian said in a deep voice. Baiziki's trio and whooshing crocodile nodded. When they heard Lin Tian's words, they didn't hesitate and hurriedly retreated. However, in the next moment, whooshing crocodile suddenly thought of something, and his expression changed. Brat, don't tell me you're thinking of boom. Lin Tian's body surged with divine light, and the laws of the great Tao surged, directly interrupting whooshing crocodile's next words. Immediately, in the next moment, with a buzzing sound, a black cauldron rushed out of his body and slowly floated in front of him. I want to break that huge piece of immortal Lingjing inside and release that middle-aged man. He transmitted his voice to the three people and the crocodile. Suddenly, Bai Ziki, Bai Qiu, and whooshing crocodile's expressions changed. They naturally knew that Lin Tian's black cauldron contained a huge piece of immortal Lingjing, and sealed within the immortal Lingjing was a nirvana realm demonized middle-aged man. He was a very terrifying existence. If such an existence was released, it would be an extremely terrifying thing. Brat, calm down. Don't play with fire. Once that middle-aged man is released, we might all be in trouble. Whooshing crocodile transmitted his voice. Bai Qiu and Bai Ziki also nodded. They had all seen how terrifying the demonized middle-aged man was when Lin Tian took out the immortal Lingjing. Just a wisp of aura overflowing from the immortal Lingjing was enough to make many powerful cultivators lose themselves and go crazy. If the immortal Lingjing was broken and the middle-aged man was released, who knows what kind of terrifying thing would happen? Yang Qi didn't know about the existence of the demonized middle-aged man. He only stood to the side and vigilantly watched the gray-robed old man pressing forward. There's no other way. This person is at the sixth heavenly layer of enlightenment. Purely relying on the devilish energy to affect him or injure him won't have any substantial effect. We can only release that middle-aged man. Lin Tian transmitted his voice and said, "There's no time. You guys quickly retreat and protect your minds." As he spoke, divine light surged around his body, and he rushed towards the gray-robed old man with the black cauldron in hand. Boom! The divine light around his body shot into the heavens. The golden radiance was resplendent, supporting the laws of the great Tao. This kind of aura was incomparably tyrannical. However, the gray-robed old man was at the sixth heavenly layer of the great Tao. How could he care about it? He stared at Lin Tian, and the murderous light in his eyes became even denser. It was like two death swords were about to rush out. It was you. Yuji was killed by you. With a boom, the murderous light surged around his body. He directly raised his hand to grab Lin Tian. I want you to live a life worse than death. I'll suppress your soul in front of Yuji's grave. Rumble, rumble, rumble. His large hand pressed down, and the void trembled. Then, with a cracking sound, it shattered. Spatial turbulence wantonly poured out. Lin Tian's chi and blood were in turmoil. The gray-robed old man's large hand hadn't even gotten close, but he felt like he was going to vomit blood. His body was in intense pain. However, even so, there was no fear in his eyes. On the contrary, they became even colder. He faced the other party's large hand that was grabbing at him and stepped forward. When he was 30 feet away from the other party's large hand, he gritted his teeth and directly turned the Xianxing cauldron upside down. A huge piece of the immortal Lingjing fell out from it and pressed down on the gray-robed old man. Then he put the Xianxing cauldron back into his body and quickly supported the reincarnation diagram. He merged the reincarnation diagram with his laws of the great Tao, fusing them together to form his current strongest technique, the reincarnation diagram of the great Tao. Break! He shouted in a low voice. The reincarnation diagram of the great Tao flew out like a comet, wrapped in the light of the imperial region and the divine radiance of the great Tao. It fiercely slammed into the huge, immortal Lingjing. Almost at the same time, the Zhan family's gray-robed old man's large hand that was reaching out to Lin Tian happened to be close to the huge, immortal Lingjing that sealed the demonized middle-aged man. He directly pressed down on it. Boom! Suddenly, monstrous divine energy vibrated, and a violent wave of air spread out. The space in front was directly drowned in divine light. Lin Tian immediately activated the Heart Sutra of the Sun, using a golden divine light screen to protect his body. However, he was still sent flying by the impact. The blood in his body surged, and a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Ah! At the same time, a scream rang out. The Zhan family's gray-robed old man's large hand was covered by a ball of pitch-black demonic blood chi, causing his arm to be like ice meeting fire. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a pool of pitch-black blood. In an instant, the expressions of the dozen or so great Tao cultivators of the Zhan family behind all changed. Elder, what happened? The dozen or so people all rushed toward the gray-robed old man. However, in the next moment, the space that was drowned in divine light trembled again. A terrifying demonic aura spread out, accompanied by the sound of iron chains breaking. Billowing black fog surged, causing the dozen or so people to stop in their tracks. Roar! A sound similar to the roar of a wild beast was heard. The sound rolled out and instantly shattered a large area of the nearby space. The gray-robed old man was the closest to the source of the sound. He was the first to be sent flying, coughing up large mouthfuls of blood. His body was covered in cracks. Elder! The expressions of the dozen or so great Tao cultivators of the Zhan family changed. However, in the next moment, they trembled violently and almost fell from the sky. Their eyes became a little dazed, and their expressions showed that they were struggling. It was as if they had fallen into an illusion. Boom! In front of them, demonic lights surged, shaking heaven and earth. The void cracked inch by inch. Lin Tian's sea of lotuses swayed. He had already protected his mind. At this time, he retreated to the side of by Ziki and the others. Roar! Almost at the instant, he retreated to the side of the three people and the crocodile. Another beast-like roar came from the front, causing the space there to collapse directly. At this time, the The space in front of them was completely enveloped by demonic light. It was pitch black. Looking through this pitch-black demonic light, one could vaguely see a slightly tall figure standing inside. His eyes were blood red, intertwined with confusion, blood, and slaughter. It was extremely horrifying. He was really let out. Whooshing Crocodile swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Beside him, Bai Ziki and Yang Qi were also shocked. Bai Qiu even shrank his neck with all his might. They had received Lin Tian's instructions in advance and had already used special methods to protect their minds. They were not affected at all. In fact, they were now at the Great Dao realm. Even if they did not prepare in advance, they would not be affected too much. After being disturbed by the demonic nature at the beginning, they would quickly recover. Roar! In front of them, a roar sounded again. The demonic light was vast and mighty, surging into the sky, shaking the nearby space until it kept collapsing. Then, in that place, the pitch-black demonic light surged inwards, as if it was being swallowed by a spatial vortex. Just like that, after a few breaths, the figure of a middle-aged man appeared and stood in the sky. All the demonic chi has been absorbed into his body. Bai Ziki stared ahead and said, the middle-aged man's hair was messy. The clothes on his body had not been destroyed by the passage of time. At this moment, there were wisps of pitch-black demonic light lingering around his body, and his eyes were blood red. Looking at the middle-aged man, Whooshing Crocodile could not help but swallow a mouthful of saliva again. Looking at this middle-aged man, he whispered to Lin Tiandao, Kid, if he comes for us, have you thought about what to do? Don't worry. I used the Great Dao Law earlier, and a part of it entered this middle-aged man's body. It should have the effect of suppressing his demonic nature. Lin Tian stared ahead and said in a low voice, At this time, as long as we do not take the initiative to provoke him, he should not do anything to us. Really? Whooshing Crocodile was a little surprised. Really? Lin Tian nodded. Hearing what he said, Whooshing Crocodile suddenly felt relieved. Bai Ziki and the other two also felt a little relieved. After all, they still believed in Lin Tian's words. Moreover, Lin Tian's Great Dao Law was indeed very unusual. It was very likely that it could suppress the demonic nature of the middle-aged man. Who is it? At this moment, a roar sounded. Lin Tianyi and the others looked up and saw that the dozens of experts of the Zhang family had completely gotten rid of the demonic influence of the middle-aged man. At this time, the gray-robed old man of the sixth sky of enlightenment was roaring coldly at the middle-aged man. P.S. The 7th update has arrived. Today's update is the 7th update. I hope everyone has enjoyed watching. Chapter 897. Lin Tianyi and the rest were stunned when they saw the Zhang family's gray-robed elder roaring at the demonized middle-aged man. Is there something wrong with this old man's head? Can't he see that the middle-aged man is not someone he can afford to offend? Bai Qiu stared and whispered. Lin Tian was also speechless. In fact, when he threw out the huge, immortal Lingjing that sealed the demonized middle-aged man, he secretly engraved a simple chain formation pattern in the void. One end of the chain was near the demonized middle-aged man, while the other end quietly extended to the Zhang family experts. As long as he activated the formation pattern, one end of the chain formation pattern would wrap around the demonized middle-aged man, and the other end would wrap around the Zhang family experts. This would make the demonized middle-aged man think that the Zhang family experts were attacking him, and he could forcefully restrain his destructive demonic aura onto the Zhang family experts. However, he did not expect that the Zhang family's gray-robed elder would roar at the demonized middle-aged man before he even activated the formation pattern. This was simply drawing hatred. The formation pattern is in vain. He was speechless. Boom! In front of him, the demonic aura was vast and mighty, causing the surrounding space to distort continuously. The oppressive aura swept across the land. In the sky, the demonized middle-aged man's body was covered in black, demonic fog. He tilted his head and stared at the Zhang family's gray-robed elder. His eyes were blood red, as though they were dyed with blood. His eyes were intertwined with bloodthirst, violence, and killing intent. The Jean family's gray-robed elder trembled when he saw such a gaze. Originally, he had only roared at the demonized middle-aged man out of anger after being severely injured. However, at this moment, when he met the demonized middle-aged man's gaze, he suddenly felt an unconcealable fear. The other party's gaze was too terrifying. It made him feel as though he was facing the Grim Reaper. At the same time, the other Jean family experts beside him were naturally in a worse state. Their foreheads were already drenched in cold sweat, and some of them could not help but take a step back. Roar! A beast-like roar came from the demonized middle-aged man's mouth, directly collapsing the surrounding void. He stared at the Jean family's gray-robed elder, his eyes filled with ruthlessness. He staggered toward the gray-robed elder. Black, demonic fog swirled around his body. Wisps of demonic fog floated in the air, like generals from the demonic domain guarding him. The dozen or so Jean family members trembled. Seeing the demonized middle-aged man walking towards them, the fear in their eyes deepened. You! The gray-robed old man from the Jean family was terrified, his lips trembling. At this time, he began to regret shouting at the other party. Roar! A beast-like roar resounded through the skies, directly shattering everything in the vicinity. The demonified middle-aged man's speed suddenly increased. His eyes were blood red, resembling a real beast. His body shone with a towering devil light as he rushed towards the 10 people from the Jean clan. The black devil fog around him churned like a black tidal wave, capable of annihilating everything. Retreat quickly, the gray-robed elder from the Jean clan shouted in fear. After he finished speaking, he was the first to retreat at an extremely fast speed. At this time, he no longer had the energy to care about Lin Tianyi and the others. He had even completely forgotten about the existence of Lin Tian and the others. At the same time, the other 10 or so people from the Jean family also retreated quickly. However, the demonified middle-aged man was too fast. In just an instant, he was in front of the 10 or so people. He raised his hand and grabbed the slowest person in his hand. His hands exerted force and tore him apart alive. Blood mixed with internal organs scattered all over the sky. Save me! Save me! This person was at the 6th firmament of the great Tao. His divine soul escaped. He screamed in fear and fled towards the other people from the Jean family. The demonified middle-aged man roared. Demonic light surrounded him. He opened his mouth and inhaled. The divine soul of the 6th firmament of the great Tao of the Jean family was immediately pulled by a terrifying force and flew directly into the demonified middle-aged man's mouth. He swallowed it along with the demonic aura. For a moment, the 10 or so people from the Jean family who fled became even more terrified. Even the gray-robed elder from the 6th firmament of comprehending truth trembled uncontrollably. Further away, Lin Tianyi and the others also trembled. So scary. Bai Qiu shrank his neck. Even Lin Tian felt his scalp tingle. He couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. This was not simply because the demonified middle-aged man killed a 6th firmament of the great Tao of the Jean family. This was no big deal. With his current combat strength, he could crush a cultivator of this level to death with a lift of his hand. What really made his scalp tingle was that the demonified middle-aged man's method of killing the 6th firmament of the great Tao of the Jean family was truly horrifying. He tore his opponent apart alive and then swallowed his divine soul in one gulp. Boom! The turbulent demonic power was vast and mighty. The pitch-black demonic lights surged and swallowed everything around. Black holes appeared one after another. The demonified middle-aged man's eyes were blood red. After killing a great Tao cultivator from the Jean family, he raised his head and stared at the other cultivators from the Jean family. Roar! He let out a roar. The demonic aura around him tumbled and moved again. With a rumble, he was like a demonic lord of death. His speed was extremely fast. Wherever he passed, the space was annihilated. In an instant, he was in front of the dozen or so people from the Jean family. With a claw, He crushed half of the head of a fifth firmament of the great Tao of the Zhan family cultivator. Blood and brain matter splattered into the void. Then he grabbed this person close to him and tore him apart like a scarecrow. Even his divine soul was annihilated by the demonic aura in his hands. His body and soul were destroyed. After that, he did not stop at all. He was really like a wild beast. His blood-red eyes stared at the rest of the Zhan family cultivators as he pounced forward. Boom! As he moved, the demonic light that filled the sky surged like the waves of a vast ocean. It drowned the 5 great Tao cultivators from the Zhan family. Ah! Screams came out from the rolling demonic light in an instant. The 5 great Tao cultivators from the Zhan family struggled, but they could not escape at all. The pitch-black demonic light was like an emperor's corrosive poison. In the blink of an eye, it corroded their physical bodies completely, causing the 5 of them to turn into thick blood. Even their divine souls were destroyed as well. They truly disappeared from this world. The group of people from the Zhan family, including the gray-robed old man, had a total of 15 people. At this time, only 15 were left in the blink of an eye. They were all terrified. Retreat, retreat, retreat. The gray-robed old man from the Zhan family spoke again. His words were somewhat inarticulate. He trembled as he fled into the distance. He was at the 6th firmament of Wuzhen, and his combat power was extremely strong. However, the demonized middle-aged man at this moment was too terrifying. Facing the demonized middle-aged man, he felt that he could not even compare to an ant. The other party seemed to be able to completely erase him from this world with just a lift of his hand. Roar! The demonized middle-aged man roared. His blood-red eyes were full of murderous aura. At this time, he stared at the gray-robed old man again. He roared again, causing the space to rumble and tremble. He turned into a monstrous demonic wave and rushed towards the gray-robed old man. With a loud crack, the divine weapon-grade treasure flag that the Zhan family had used to seal off the surrounding space was shattered into pieces. The fragments fell from the sky with a clatter. The space seal was shattered. In the distance, whooshing crocodiles' eyes lit up. Slowly retreat from this place. Don't alarm the demonized middle-aged man, Lin Tian whispered. Immediately, for people and one crocodile moved carefully. They did not stop until they were 1,000 feet away from this place. They looked forward in a mountain. Let this Lord Crocodile see how these bastards from the Zhan family are finished. Whooshing crocodile bared its teeth. Just now, more than a dozen people from the Zhan family attacked. Although it did not suffer great damage, it still vomited some blood. It was naturally very unhappy. If you just watch from here, there won't be any great risk. Just don't provoke him. Lin Tian stared at the demonized middle-aged man in front of him. Bai Ziqi's group and whooshing crocodile nodded. Each of them suppressed their aura to the minimum and looked forward. Boom! In front of them, the demonic aura was billowing and terrifying. The sky was filled with dark demonic fog. The demonized middle-aged man's eyes were blood-red. He stared at the gray-robed old man from the Zhan family and took a few steps forward. Suddenly, the gray-robed old man from the Zhan family trembled violently. "What are you doing?" "Roar!" The demonized middle-aged man roared. The demonic aura covered the sky. Just the aura alone sent the gray-robed old man flying with a bang. The gray-robed old man coughed up blood. His body was instantly covered with cracks. The demonized middle-aged man's eyes were full of ruthlessness. He stared at the gray-robed old man who was flying backward and directly raised his hand to grab the old man's head. The gray-robed old man stabilized his body. Seeing the demonized middle-aged man's big hand pressing down, he was suddenly even more terrified. He let out a loud roar and forcefully took out a divine weapon seal. It pressed down on the demonized middle-aged man's big hand. Then he took out his own Great Path precepts. The Great Path divine light that filled the sky like a starry river of Tao pressed down on the demonized middle-aged man. Crack! 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 The gray-robed old man attacked with all his might. The low-grade divine weapon and Great Path precepts were all used. The scene was extremely shocking. It directly caused the void to collapse inch by inch. The spatial turbulence poured out wantonly. For the cultivation level of the sixth heavenly layer of Wujin, this old bastard's combat power is not bad. In the distance, whooshing crocodile said, "Can he stop the demonized middle-aged man?" Bai Chio whispered. Lin Tian shook his head. There is no hope at all. Almost as soon as his words fell, in the sky in front of him, the demonized middle-aged man's big hand intertwined with dense demonic light. With a crack, it shattered the divine weapon that the gray-robed old man had taken out. Then, the big hand's momentum did not decrease. It annihilated the gray-robed old man's great path precepts. It penetrated the gray-robed old man's chest and grabbed his heart out. Blood splattered everywhere. "Ah!" the gray-robed old man screamed. It was not only because his chest was penetrated and his heart was grabbed out, but also because after the demonized middle-aged man's hand penetrated his body, the remaining strands of terrifying demonic chi were left in his body. At this time, the remaining demonic chi in his body began to madly corrode his physical body. It even flooded his sea of consciousness and spiritual soul. "Elder!" The other great path masters of the Zhan family shouted in horror. It was also at this time that the demonized middle-aged man roared again. His right hand grabbed the gray-robed old man's heart and smashed it down. The gray-robed old man was smashed into the sky, leaving only a spiritual soul to escape. His face was full of horror. The demonized middle-aged man's eyes were blood-red. Demonic light surged around him. He stared at the escaping spiritual soul of the gray-robed old man and roared again. Just like how he killed the Zhan family cultivator at the beginning, he directly sucked the gray-robed old man's spiritual soul back and swallowed it into his stomach. Chapter 898. Lin Tian and the others looked ahead and couldn't help but feel a chill down their spines. The Zhan family's gray-robed elder of the sixth heaven of Wujin was actually smashed into pieces by the demonized middle-aged man, and then his spirit was directly devoured. This kind of means was really a bit horrifying. What a good appetite! The whooshing crocodile bared its teeth. Lin Tian glanced at it and looked ahead again. In the sky up ahead, of the dozen or so people from the Zhan clan who had chased them all the way here, there were only 7 left. They were all cultivators of the Great Path level, and their abilities were extraordinary. However, at this moment, all of them were trembling, and their eyes were filled with intense fear. How? How could this happen? Some people were trembling all over. At this time, staring at the demonized middle-aged man, these 7 Zhan family powerhouses were all trembling in fear. Powerful as their family's elder of the sixth heaven of Wujin was actually smashed into pieces and devoured by the other party. How could they stop it? "Run! Run!" someone said in horror. In an instant, all 7 of them moved, creating 7 whooshing sounds as they fled in 7 different directions. Very smart, each choosing a different direction. However, can they beat the speed of a Nirvana-level powerhouse? In the distance, Lin Tianwei narrowed his eyes. Almost as soon as his voice fell, the demonic fog in front of him surged into the sky, making a rolling roar and directly collapsing the sky. The demonized middle-aged man's eyes were blood-red. With just one step, he appeared in front of a Great Path powerhouse who escaped from the Zhan family. "You poof!" The demonized middle-aged man waved his hand and smashed the Zhan family powerhouse's head with one palm. Then, the demonic light rolled, pulling out his spirit and crushing it. Standing in the sky, the demonized middle-aged man's body was intertwined with strands of dark, demonic light. His blood-red pupils looked in the direction where the other 6 Zhan family powerhouses escaped. Swoosh! With a soft sound, the demonized middle-aged man disappeared in place. The next moment, he stopped another Zhan family powerhouse who escaped. The big hand intertwined with blood and demonic light directly slapped down, ruthless and ruthless. "Don't kill, poof!" Blood splattered, and this Zhan clan cultivator was instantly smashed into pieces. Even his soul was obliterated. In the next moment, the demonized middle-aged man tilted his head. The blood-red color in his eyes faded a little, but his violent aura was still very strong. With a swoosh, he disappeared from his original spot and charged towards the other Jean family experts. Ah! Help! Save! I am... Ah! I don't want to die, no. The demonized middle-aged man was very fast. He appeared in 5 different positions one after another and shot out 5 clusters of dazzling blood mist. After that, the entire space became much quieter. The dozen or so experts from the Jean family had been completely wiped out. What a bloodthirsty demon, Whooshing Crocodile said from afar. Lin Tian shook his head. You can't say that. He's actually very pitiful. He knew some things about the demonized middle-aged man. The other party was once the lord of a holy land in the 4th heaven. His holy land suffered a disaster in order to suppress a pure source vein. At the last moment, he forced himself to enter the demonic state to break through to the nirvana realm, saving the last few disciples of the Holy Land, and then forcibly sealed himself. In front of them, the demonized middle-aged man stood in the sky. His hair was messy and fluttering in the wind. Demonic light surrounded his body. Suddenly, he tilted his head slightly and looked at the location of Lin Tian and the others with his blood-red eyes. Suddenly, the 4 people and 1 crocodile trembled at the same time. They only felt that their internal organs had become cold at this moment. He won't come over, right? Bai Chio said with a guilty conscience. Whooshing Crocodile also whispered, Brat Lin, are you sure he won't do anything to us? Don't worry, as long as we don't provoke him, he won't do anything to us. Lin Tiandao. The group of people stared at the demonized middle-aged man in front of them. They all held their breath and didn't even move their fingers. Immediately, in the next moment, they all breathed a sigh of relief. The demonized middle-aged man's gaze moved away from them. At this moment, standing in the sky, the demonized middle-aged man suddenly gave off a feeling of loneliness and desolation. His eyes were blood-red, and the violence and killing intent in them dissipated a lot. Only confusion became stronger. He looked at the Holy Land, the sky, and the earth like a lonely traveler, stepping into the distance step by step and disappearing in the blink of an eye. For people, and 1 crocodile stood on a large mountain thousands of feet away. Seeing the demonized middle-aged man leave, they all breathed a sigh of relief. Boy, are we letting him go out like this? It won't cause a disaster, right? Whooshing Crocodile asked. It won't. You saw it too. His eyes are obviously not as red as when he first came out. Moreover, the violence and killing intent in his eyes have weakened a lot. There won't be any problems now. His demonic nature won't even disturb others. Lin Tiandao said. Of course, if someone provokes him, it'll be a different story. How scary, Bai Chio whispered. Bai Ziki and Yang Qi looked in the direction the demonized middle-aged man left with a faint light in their eyes. Speaking of which, Brat Lin, when the immortal Lingjing that sealed the demonized middle-aged man was broken, it didn't explode into pieces. It seems that there are still some fragments that fell over there. At this moment, the 5 Elements crocodile opened his mouth and pointed to a spot 1,000 feet away. He said, those small fragments together should be worth millions of kilograms of ordinary spirit crystals. Bai Chio looked in the direction Whooshing Crocodile was pointing. After a while, his eyes lit up. There really are fragments. Looking over, on a large rock thousands of feet away, there were dozens of fragments of immortal Lingjing scattered around. Altogether, they weighed about 300 pounds. 300 kilograms of celestial spiritual crystals was equivalent to 3 million kilograms of ordinary spiritual crystals. Although it was of no use to them now, it was still worth a lot if they took it out. Don't look at them. They're useless now. Lin Tiandao shook his head and said, that fragment of immortal Lingjing has been sealed for a very long time. It's already been contaminated by the blood fiend demonic qi. Refining it for cultivation will only do more harm than good. With that, his right hand shook, and dozens of golden sword lights shot out, destroying the dozens of fragments of immortal Lingjing. After all, the fragments of immortal Lingjing had already been contaminated. If they were found by someone who didn't know the truth, it would cause harm to others. After that, he looked at Baiziki's group and whooshing crocodile and said, "Let's go. Let's go. Let's go back." Baichio was overjoyed. She had been away from her family for many years, and she was quite homesick. Baiziki didn't say anything. He was calm and steady. His eyes shone with a faint light, and he seemed very calm. The group left and followed the path they had taken to enter the immortal mansion, heading toward the exit. Not long after, they crossed several large mountains and saw many other cultivators nearby. There were quite a few experts among them, and their blood energies were very vigorous. These people had been searching for treasures. When they saw Lin Tiandao and the others, they were all shocked. When they looked at Lin Tiandao, their eyes were filled with reverence. It's that guy. A few days ago, he defeated in Longjing with the primal chaos body, and he also killed several young kings of the central region. These cultivators' hearts palpitated. Some of them even subconsciously shrank their necks and swallowed a few mouthfuls of saliva. They looked at you as if you were a fiend. Baichio said. Lin Tiandao glanced at her, but didn't say anything. He naturally didn't care about the reaction of these cultivators in this place. Without changing his pace, he stepped out of the immortal mansion world with Baiziki and the others. The spiritual energy outside is really poor, whooshing crocodile said. The group was now in the central region, where there is a space-time portal leading to the sixth heaven. The space-time portal leading from the fifth heaven to the fourth heaven is located in the wasteland. They need to go from the fifth heaven to the fourth heaven, and then go down from the fourth heaven. Immediately, the group didn't stay in the central region for too long. Their speed wasn't too fast nor too slow. They headed towards the space-time portal in the wasteland. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 days passed. The group appeared in the wasteland, and the spiritual energy in the air suddenly weakened. They naturally didn't care about this. Following the established route, they quickly came to the edge of the wasteland. In front of them, there was a small valley hundreds of meters away. The group walked to the end of the valley and saw a huge stone platform made of unknown material. In the middle of the platform, there was a purple light beam about 30 meters high, intertwined with mystery and majesty. At the same time, the surrounding air was filled with the vicissitudes of life. We're here, Lin Tiandao. This is the space-time portal leading to the fourth heaven. When we reach the Emperor realm in the future, we will no longer need to rely on this space-time portal to pass through the 10 heavens. We can tear the heavenly barrier with a raise of our hand and go wherever we want. Whooshing Crocodile said, "It's not so easy to reach the Emperor realm." Baichio said. Lin Tiandao said, "Don't sigh, let's go." In front of them, the stone platform was magnificent, and the aura of time intertwined with each other. The group stepped on the stone platform and stepped into the space-time portal without any hesitation. For a time, darkness enveloped everything. After an unknown amount of time, the group was shaken out of the darkness one after another and appeared in the fourth heaven. At this time, there was still a stone platform behind them. It's the space-time portal leading to the fifth heaven. After passing through the fifth heaven, they appeared here. We're in this land again. Kid Lin, do you want to see that barbarian with king body? Whooshing Crocodile said. Lin Tiandao thought for a while, then finally shook his head and said, "Forget it, it's nothing special. Let's meet again the next time we come to this heaven. Let's go directly to the space-time portal leading to the third heaven." Whooshing Crocodile nodded. "Okay, let's go." The group flew in the sky. After a few days, they came to the space-time portal leading from the fourth heaven to the third heaven and stepped into it one after another. Immediately, after passing through the darkness, the group appeared in the depths of a stone forest. We're here, the third heaven. Lin Tiandao's eyes flashed with a glimmer of light. Author's note: Dragon is going to have dinner, then come back and continue writing the third update. Chapter 899. Standing in the depths of this stone forest, Lin Tian was naturally very familiar with this place. He entered the fourth heaven from here. In fact, Baiziki and the others were no stranger to this place. They have all passed through here before. Let's go. Lin Tiandao immediately stepped out of the stone forest. Bai Ziki, whooshing crocodile, and the other two didn't say anything and followed behind him. The ground of this stone forest was a little dry, and the air was also a little lacking in moisture. It was not very refreshing. However, the group clearly did not care about this. They quickly walked out of this stone forest and stepped on the empty air for tens of thousands of feet. This is the barbarian land of the third heaven. Find a top force in the barbarian land and use the teleportation array to go to the other side. Lin Tian said. The third heaven is divided into two large regions, the prosperous continent and the barbarian land. The two large regions are separated by a vast galaxy. There are many terrifying beasts in the barbarian land that can even swallow great Tao powerhouses. They need to use the teleportation array of a top force in the barbarian land to go to the prosperous continent. This is because the space-time portal from this heaven to the second heaven is located in the prosperous continent. Moreover, there is the Emergence Tao Gate on the prosperous continent. Lin Tian wants to go back to the Emergence Tao Gate because there are people who are very important to him there. You lead the way, Grandpa Crocodile will follow. Whooshing Crocodile said. Lin Tian nodded and walked towards the place where the cultivators were more concentrated. This barbarian land didn't have many beautiful mountains and rivers, and the land was very barren. However, the aura here wasn't bad. The group traveled through this barbarian land, asking some cultivators for information. Not long after, they arrived in front of a chain of stone fortresses. Each of the stone fortresses was made from a special type of stone, and there was an extremely thick aura of time intertwining around them. Luo Chuan Immortal Castle. Lin Tiandao, Bai Ziki, and the others walked forward. Luo Chuan Immortal Castle is one of the top forces in this barbarian land. It is as powerful as the several dynasties on the other side of the prosperous continent. It has a very long inheritance, a very deep foundation, and many powerhouses. The purpose of Lin Tian and the others coming here was very simple. They wanted to use the space transmission array of this great power to travel from this barbarian land to Shenzhou. The group arrived at this place. After paying a certain amount of Lingjing, they quickly stepped onto a tall teleportation platform within the Luo Chuan Immortal Castle. This teleportation platform could directly teleport a cultivator from Luo Chuan Immortal Castle to the Sheng continent on the other side. Buzz! The teleportation platform was engraved with all kinds of Tao patterns and array patterns. At this moment, all of them lit up and gave off waves of radiance, enveloping Lin Tianyi and the others. In the next moment, a void crack appeared and swallowed the group of people. Darkness once again enveloped the group. In this kind of darkness, Lin Tian and the others were already used to it. Each of them was very quiet and did not move at all. After that, it didn't seem like much time had passed. With a buzzing sound, light appeared in front of them. A powerful force shook them out of the boundless darkness, and they landed on a barren mountain. Boom! As soon as the four people and one crocodile appeared, there was a violent surge of demonic aura. A huge, ferocious bird swooped down from the sky towards them. It looked like a giant eagle, and its demonic eyes were dark green. It was obvious that it treated them as prey. What broken immortal castle? They sent us to the mouth of a ferocious bird, and we were treated as targets as soon as we came out. The whooshing crocodile cursed. That level of space transmission array can teleport us to this large area of Shenzhou, but the position of coming out from the void is not accurate. It can't be helped when encountering such a situation. Moreover, this is not a big deal. Lin Tian said. He tilted his head slightly and glanced at the giant eagle that was attacking them. The giant eagle that was attacking them was called the Purple Eagle. It was at the peak level of the Zephyr realm, and its demonic aura was very strong. However, at this time, when it met Lin Tian's gaze, it suddenly trembled violently and almost fell from the void. Just by being glanced at by Lin Tian, this ferocious eagle felt the terror of Lin Tian. I'll go to a place first, then I'll go to the second heaven. Lin Tian said. Where are you going? Bai Qiu was a little curious. A Tao sect I have cultivated there before. Lin Tian said. His eyes were intertwined with wisps of light, and he looked at a certain place across the sky. That place was one of the 12 Tao sects of this heaven, the Yuhua Tao sect. Now that he has returned to the third heaven, he naturally has to go back to the Yuhua Tao sect to see the people who are very important to him. Moreover, he is now the sect master of the Yuhua Tao sect, so he should go there. Hearing him say this, Baiziki and the others glanced at him slightly, but they didn't ask anything. At that moment, the group soared into the sky, led by Lin Tian, and headed towards a predetermined location. The area of the Shun continent was extremely beautiful. There were mountains and rivers, and the spirit energy intertwined with each other. It was very appropriate for the name Shun continent. The speed of the group wasn't too fast, but it wasn't slow either. Soon, they crossed 3 mountains. Hey, why does that person look so familiar? It does seem a little familiar. I think I've seen him somewhere before. Many cultivators appeared in front of them. Their cultivation levels range from the divine pulse realm to the airborne realm. At this moment, when they saw Lin Tianyi and the others, their eyes fell on Lin Tian, and all of them had suspicious expressions. Suddenly, one of the older cultivators stared at Lin Tian's eyes, and his pupils twitched violently. It's him. It's that Lin Tian. There were many cultivators gathered in this place, about a dozen of them. After hearing this, all of their expressions changed. Lin Tian. It's that Lin Tian from a few years ago. It's really that person. It's him. I remember now. It's him. It's that Lin Tian. He's disappeared for a few years, and now he's appeared again. For a moment, all the cultivators in this place revealed shocked expressions. Many people couldn't help but feel their scalps go numb. Back then, Lin Tian's reputation in this Shun continent was too great. He traveled the world by himself, and when he was still in the airborne realm, he killed several great Tao experts. After that, he destroyed the Golden Flames Tao sect, destroyed the Dragon-Seeking family, and destroyed the Formless Immortal sect. He even indirectly caused the top force in this Shun continent, the Seven Luminaries Empire, to come to an end. After a few years, when these people saw Lin Tian appear again, their hearts palpitated and a chill ran down their spines. These people didn't know that Lin Tian left this heaven a few years ago because of the pursuit of the Temple of Desolation. They also didn't know that Lin Tian went to the 4th and 5th heavens in the past few years and made a name for himself. They also didn't know that Lin Tian was now in the 6th heavenly layer of the Great Tao and could easily kill 9th heavenly layer powerhouses. They only knew what happened a few years ago on the Shun continent, and these things alone were enough to make them feel awe and respect for Lin Tian. Baiziki's team of 3 and the 5 elements crocodile possessed very high cultivation bases. Thus, it was only natural for them to be able to hear the voices of the cultivators there. Additionally, they could also see the reverence and fear in the eyes of the cultivators as they stared at Lin Tian. Feeling curious, they turned to look at Lin Tian. What did you do in this heaven? Why are they looking at you like you're a demon? Bai Qiu asked. Lin Tian immediately gave her a knock on the head without any trace of politeness. What demon? Speak properly. This girl, she said that in the 5th heaven, and in this heaven, she said the same thing. How am I a demon? Bai Qiu rubbed her forehead and gritted her teeth. But they're obviously very afraid of you, as if they have seen a ghost. Lin Tian wanted to knock her again, but she dodged. He saw that Baiziki, Yangqi, and Wuxing Crocodile were also looking at him curiously. He didn't hide anything and casually said, "It's nothing. When I was in the airborne realm, I killed a few great Tao cultivators. Then, when I broke through to the immortal realm, I destroyed a Tao sect, destroyed an aristocratic family, destroyed an immortal sect, and indirectly ended an imperial dynasty." After that, he continued, "That imperial dynasty is the one I mentioned to you before, the one that repaid my kindness with enmity." Hearing his words, the trio and the crocodile all stared at him. "Boy, you play quite well. You destroyed a total of 4 major forces in this Shun continent. You are really ruthless." Wuxing Crocodile gritted its teeth. "It's nothing." Lin Tianyi smiled and said, "I have always been like this. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. They provoked me first and wanted to kill me. I just retaliated in self-defense. Whooshing crocodile rolled its eyes and didn't say anything. Baiziki and the other two were also surprised. They didn't expect that Lin Tian would cause such a big commotion in this Shun continent. These things have happened a long time ago. Let's continue. Lin Tiandao. Baiziki's team of 3 and the 5 elemental crocodile did not dwell on this matter. Following Lin Tian's lead, they stepped out of this place and headed into the distance, leaving behind a group of cultivators who stared at Lin Tian's departing figure in shock. That ruthless person in the past, he has appeared again after a few years. I wonder if he will cause a big commotion again. I don't think so. After all, the forces that were hostile to him in this Shun continent have been destroyed. That's right. That's true. It feels like he's obviously stronger than a few years ago. Also, the people with him don't seem to be simple. They all look very powerful. I seem to sense wisps of Tao law fluctuations on his body. Moreover, they seem to be purer than the Tao laws of some great Tao experts. What? Tao law fluctuations that are purer than those of great Tao experts? Are you saying that he has stepped into the great Tao realm? How is that possible? It's only been a short time. How can he cultivate so quickly? Staring at Lin Tian's back in the distance, these cultivators were shocked again and again. Lin Tianyi and the others stepped on the void and walked very far away. They had traveled at least tens of thousands of feet. They walked in the void with Lin Tian leading the way. Gradually, their speed became slightly faster. Just like that, several hours passed in the blink of an eye. At this moment, a vast group of palaces appeared in front of them. They were located in an immortal mountain and looked very imposing. We're here. A smile appeared on Lin Tiandao's face. Author's note: the 3rd update has arrived. Dragon adjusted and went to write the 4th update. It should be around 1:30 a.m. Chapter 900. The palaces between the immortal mountains were laid out horizontally, causing a faint smile to appear on Lin Tian's face. This was where the Ascension Dao sect was located. After a few years, he had returned. He stood in the sky and looked into the Ascension Dao sect from afar. Inside, there were glorious palaces and special stones. One could see that many plants were intertwined with an extremely dense radiance, revealing a kind of immortal aura. He looked inside and was momentarily lost in thought. Kid, what are you in a daze for? Whooshing Crocodile spoke at this moment. He looked at the Ascension Dao sect in front of him and asked, "Is this the sect that you stayed in this realm?" Lin Tian came back to his senses and nodded. "Yes, let's go in." As he spoke, he took the lead and descended into the void 100 feet away from the Ascension Dao sect. He walked towards the Ascension Dao sect. Soon, he led the 3 of them and the crocodile to the main entrance of the Ascension Dao sect. Who is it? The main entrance of the Ascension Dao sect was more than 100 feet tall. It was built with special materials and covered with strange patterns. It was quite majestic. Seeing Lin Tianyi and the others approaching, a disciple guarding the door stepped forward. He was in the Sea of Consciousness realm and had a solemn expression as he asked them in a neither arrogant nor humble manner. At the same time, the other disciples guarding the main entrance also looked at Lin Tianyi and the others. Then, in the next moment, when these disciples saw Lin Tian's true appearance, their expressions changed drastically. Sect Master? The disciple who walked forward spoke as he stared at Lin Tian. His face was filled with disbelief, and his body was trembling slightly. Lin Tian had a faint smile on his face as he nodded slightly at this disciple. Immediately, the disciple's body trembled. He was both surprised and happy. Furthermore, the other disciples who were guarding the gate were also very excited at this place. It's really the Sect Master. It's really the Sect Master. Sect Master, you're finally back. The disciple guarding the gate was extremely excited. He immediately knelt down on one knee and bowed to Lin Tian. Disciple greets the Sect Master. Greetings, Sect Master. Greetings, Sect Master. Greetings, Sect Master. In front of the main gate, all the disciples who were guarding the gate knelt down and bowed with respect from the bottom of their hearts. A few years ago, when the Ascension Tao School was facing extermination, the head of the formless immortal sect led a group of immortal sect experts to attack, at the same time enticing the Golden Fire Tao School to help, almost destroying the Ascension Tao School. At that time, Lin Tian bluntly rejected the invitation of the head of the formless immortal sect, protecting the entire sect and all the disciples of the sect. All the disciples of the Ascension Tao School rushed out. From the outer sect disciples to the core disciples, there was no exception. At the same time, the deacons and ordinary elders of the Ascension Tao School also stepped out and put down the things in their hands. Soon, everyone from the Ascension Tao School saw Lin Tian, and all of them revealed excited and surprised expressions. It's really the sect leader. In an instant, all the disciples of the Ascension Tao School who walked out knelt on one knee. Just like the previous disciples guarding the gate, they bowed to Lin Tian. The group of deacons and ordinary elders also bowed and paid their respects. There wasn't the slightest disrespect in their expressions. Greetings, sect leader. Greetings, sect leader. Greetings, sect leader. Many of these people were much older than Lin Tian, and many of them had entered the Ascension Tao gate earlier than Lin Tian. However, at this moment, all of them, without exception, had expressions of respect that came from the bottom of their hearts. In the blink of an eye, a group of people knelt down in the Ascension Tao School. Other than Lin Tian, Bai Ziqi's group of 3, and Wuxing Crocodile, not a single person could be seen standing. Bretlin, you're good. Not only are you the sect leader here, but your prestige is also so great. Wuxing Crocodile bared his teeth and recovered from his shock. Bai Ziqi and the other 2 calmed down a lot, but they were still a little emotional. After all, the Ascension Tao School was not small, and Lin Tian was actually the sect leader of such a large sect. It was impossible for them to calm down in a short period of time. Lin Tian glanced at Wuxing Crocodile, then looked at the disciples, deacons, and ordinary elders of the Ascension Tao School. Get up. Yes. A wave-like sound rang out in unison. It was very majestic. Then everyone from the Ascension Tao School stood up. At this moment, many people clenched their fists as they stared at Lin Tian, especially those of the same age as Lin Tian. Their eyes were filled with reverence. Lin. Suddenly, a clear and melodious voice that carried slight sobs resounded as a gorgeous young woman charged over with a shocking speed. She instantly pounced into Lin Tian's embrace and hugged him tightly, as if she'd found a precious treasure that she'd lost for a long time. Lin Tian was slightly moved when he saw the young lady pouncing over. The young lady was dressed in a long dress, and her soft black hair draped over her shoulders. She was like a fairy who had fallen into the mortal world. At this moment, her beautiful eyes were filled with tears. When Lin Tian left the Ascension Tao School, it had been several years. She missed and worried about him every day. This was because to her, Lin Tian was her only family in this world. Don't cry, Lin Tian said with a smile. In the Ascension Tao School, he cared about this young lady the most. Beside him, Bai Chio's eyes widened. However, at this moment, there was no longer shock in her eyes. Instead, there were other emotions mixed with panic and unease. Lin Tian naturally noticed Bai Chio's abnormal expression. He was slightly embarrassed and hurriedly introduced the young lady, saying, "This is Shui Yi. He saved my life back then. All these years, although he and Bai Chio did not make any verbal promises or agreements, their relationship was already self-evident. In the future, one would marry the other, so he naturally could not remain silent at this moment. Saved your life? Your benefactor?" Bai Chio sized up Shui Yi. She stood slightly behind Bai Ziqi and grabbed a piece of Bai Ziqi's clothes tightly. Lin Tian nodded, yes. At this moment, Shui Yi naturally noticed Bai Chio and the others. She hurriedly let go of Lin Tian, wiped away her tears, and stepped away from Lin Tian. She could guess that these people were Lin Tian's friends, and Bai Chio was even more unusual. Hello. Her voice was very soft, and she seemed a little reserved. Then, her gaze landed on Bai Chio. She seemed even more reserved, and her voice was even softer, not much louder than a mosquito's buzz. Hello. Hello. By Chio hid behind by Ziki. Her voice was also very soft, completely different from her usual lively and mischievous self. At this moment, the two beautiful young ladies looked at each other with cautious expressions. Seeing the two girls like this, Lin Tian immediately felt even more awkward. Lin Tian. At this moment, a loud laugh rang out. A middle-aged man walked over from afar, and his face was filled with excitement. This middle-aged man was Lu Wuwei, the previous Ascension sect leader, and the person who passed the position of Ascension sect leader to Lin Tian. Sect leader. Seeing Lu Wuwei walk over, Lin Tian broke free from the awkward situation and hurriedly went up to greet him. Lu Wuwei shook his head and said with a smile, "Now, you are the sect leader of Ascension sect, and I am the Grand Elder." Lin Tian also smiled. "All right, Grand Elder." Now his cultivation had reached the 6th level of the Great Path, and he was almost invincible under the Enlightenment realm. He was much stronger than Lu Wuwei, but when facing Lu Wuwei, he still had the same respect as before. This was because there were some things that had nothing to do with the strength of one's cultivation. Back then, Lu Wuwei had protected him many times and saved his life. Moreover, Lu Wuwei had killed the elders of other sects for him. Lu Wuwei was one of the few people that he respected the most. No matter how strong his cultivation had become, this respect would not change. Lin Tian. Old man, you should call him sect leader. Yes. I'm old and muddle-headed. Welcome back, sect leader. Behind Lu Wuwei were 12 old men. At this moment, they all had smiles on their faces. They were the 12 reclusive elders of Ascension sect. Lin Tian looked at the 12 old men and nodded with a faint smile on his face. "Elders, I trust you have been well since we last met." Boom! In the distance, a shocking rumble came from an immortal mountain of Ascension sect. Billowing demonic aura was vast and mighty, and a black dragon rushed over. P.S. I've finally finished writing at 2:10 in the morning. I'm sorry for making you wait. Please forgive me. My eyelids have been fighting, and I can't take it anymore. I'm going to rest. Good night, everyone. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lord YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.